You know what I love?
Sports.
Love sports.
Sports. When
It comes to
Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
Let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
I need to talk a little sports with you, Ags. David Nuño here with TexAgs Radio. Billy Lucci here on TexAgs Radio. Olin, Buchanan.
We will develop men. We will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
The best way for us to win is to do it together.
Do you realize everybody knows who you are right now?
I think we're coming into this year with a new confidence.
Schools are like, we're freaking Texas A&M, man. Like,
that's about as pretty a throw-catch combo as there is.
I saw the safety roll, the slot fade. I knew where I needed to put the ball.
You had no other option but one hand at that point.
Yeah, man, 50-50 ball, I got to come down with it.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
A moment of props for Nick Savage getting Mike Elko into the intro. That's not easy, guys. Welcome into TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Today is, by the way, it's the Go Hour presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. Today is Thursday, November 30th, 2023. A year from today, Olin Buchanan, a year from today, what's happening?
Texas and Texas A&M playing.
Thank you very much, sir.
Texas loses at Kyle Field.
Thank you very much, sir. How are you?
I'm good. Very good, actually.
You know, I don't want to say one of my favorite movies, but one movie that I really like is Groundhog Day.
Yeah, I like that one.
I really like it because explain the premise, for those who don't know.
Bill Murray on Groundhog Day is living the same day over and over and over and over for, we don't know how long, but it appears to be years.
Because I feel like this is the same look we had yesterday.
It's very similar.
Very similar look. The hat, the hair.
I had plans to get my hair cut yesterday, but everybody, I assume everybody who's listening to me right now, has experienced those days where no matter what your plan is, there are certain events that come up within the day that prevents you from doing the things you had planned.
Right.
Whether it be something that your wife needs you to do or a minor emergency with the house or whatever.
Emergency, yeah.
So, and I had one of those kind of days.
Well, I got to say thank you to our audience who did get us over 300 likes yesterday on YouTube because I said, without Olin's permission, if we get to 200 likes, he will get a mullet. He didn't get the mullet. He says his wife won't allow him to get the mullet. So
she actually, when you were talking about that yesterday, she texted me. And I'm going to read you straight from the text. She says, I said, should I get the mullet? She writes, hell no, unless you get a raise. So, and I know you're not in charge of the raise.
What if we take you to lunch?
That's not a raise, man.
I mean,
I can afford lunch.
Okay. Well, I apologize to all of you who liked, but I think we're going to, because it helped so much, we're almost at 13,000 subscribers. Because it helped so much, Dalton and I are kind of coming up with game plans on how to entice you all to like more often so we can get...
Any way to ridicule me, it seems like it works out great. And
it wasn't a ridicule.
People are lining up to want to see me look even more foolish.
But here's the thing, Olin. We're trying to help you because it's a very stylish look.
The mullet.
The mullet is in style now.
Well, if you're in Stillwater.
No.
And East Texas.
Like everybody's got it now.
No, oh, yeah.
Your buddy Quinn Ewers.
I thought he cut his hair.
He probably did. I don't pay attention.
Yeah, and he's not my buddy, even though he does have a great first name. I don't know, other than Mike Gundy, who still wears it.
The comedian. Leanna, help me. There's a comedian. Are you here?
Yeah,
okay.
not 100% sure.
Does the mullet play well in Australia?
Heck yeah. The mullet.
Really?
There's even someone on the YouTube chat.
Theo
Vaughn, that's who you're thinking of.
Theo Vaughn's right up your alley.
Never heard of him.
Oh, my God, dude. His comedy and maybe some thoughts that he has on stuff going around in the world.
Oh, yeah, OB. You would like
Theo
Vaughn?
Vaughn.
V-O-N. Like Von Miller.
He's
like
on
Von
Netflix.
Miller? Okay,
He's got a podcast that's very popular.
I'll have to check it out.
He is your kind of comedian.
Sounds like he's my kind of guy.
Yeah, like you guys would like hang.
Okay.
Hang.
All right.
But he's got a mullet.
Well, I have friends with mullets. Doesn't mean I have to have one.
Well, this is true.
I have friends that want to fight everybody all the time. It doesn't mean
When's the last time you saw me want to fight?
I'm
nice. I've turned over a new. I embrace the hate. Thank you for hating me, sir. I appreciate you speaking about the way I speak English. Thank you. Let me give you a hug.
Wait. Somebody have an issue with your how do you speak English?
Yeah, they couldn't understand me.
What?
Yeah.
They can understand me, but not you.
Yeah, I know, right?
You speak better English than I do.
I don't know about all that.
I speak East Texan.
Well, that guy would never, ever come in person. But whatever. Hey, this is Coffee Talk presented by TexAgs Coffee. Beat the hell out of morning by going to texags.com/coffee. Gotta have a sip real quick. Ay, qué rico. Very delicious. Anyway, should we start off with A&M basketball? Or do we want to get into something that I just came across on social media a few minutes ago? Let me just read this to you.
Okay.
Good Morning America. I know you're a big Good Morning America. If we were on the air, you'd be watching it.
I never watched that show.
Oh, okay.
But, hey, America, who I love, good morning.
So, this is their tweeting. Congratulations to Deion Sanders for being named SI's 2023
on the radio coming.
Sports Person of the Year.
Sports Person of the Year wins 4 games as a head coach. Loses what? The last 7?
Okay. Let's kind of. Who are some better nominees out there?
In all of sports?
Like people who do good. Patrick Mahomes.
How about the guy who everybody was talking about last year, the best player for the Denver Nuggets, and the guy from ESPN, Kendrick Perkins was just disrespecting someone. He wasn't that good, and that it was just because he was white. Jokic.
Yeah, the Joker.
Yeah, that comes to mind because he was. I mean, ESPN's one of their primary basketball analysts was attacking him and criticizing all this, and then he just goes out and leads Denver to an NBA championship. That comes to mind. How about Corey Seager?
Corey Seager, yeah. What's the name of the dude who owns the Astros? The
Cuban guy.
The Cuban guy.
Of course.
I love that dude.
Garcia.
I don't love him against the Astros, but I mean, yeah.
That
guy.
Adolis Garcia.
Yeah.
I mean, they've won the World Series for the first time in franchise history. Why not?
How about Kirby Smart?
Bochy?
Who?
Bruce Bochy.
I'm okay with Kirby Smart.
Kirby Smart. I mean, you can go on and on. Deion caused a lot of commotion, and
he is a like. He's a retweet. He's not your Sports Person of the Year. You have to have success, or you need to make a difference.
I thought they might say Leah Thomas. So,
gosh.
So at least they didn't go there.
But look, Deion, he's intriguing. There's something that I think that people gravitate to. He's a headline. He's a retweet. He's not your Sports Person of the Year. He's not.
I agree. Mahomes. They want to. How about Kelsey?
Okay.
He's dating Taylor Swift.
Yes.
Which actually maybe that's a deduction.
And he won the Super Bowl.
He was on a Super Bowl team. Why Deion Sanders? I mean, if you read it, and I won't, but if you read it, they'd probably explain their reasoning. It just seemed the reasoning would be flawed.
I'm sure there are 100 other people we could come up with that.
Well, Sports Illustrated isn't what it used to be. I think we can all agree with that.
No. Do they still do the paper magazine?
I think they still do, but
I don't know.
I don't know that for a fact.
All right, if you want to win yourself some coffee, you can do that. Let's come up with a number, OB.
Number 6, because if my memory is correct, and look, last night on the basketball thing, I put the wrong day.
Did you really?
I put Tuesday instead of Wednesday. I got my days mixed up.
Happened.
So my memory may not be on, but I think on the 6th, so in like 6 days, it's Johnny Manziel's birthday.
Okay.
And Johnny Manziel told Ross Bjork, we heard last, he said, we need to be the bullies, and then he added some adjectives to the bullies that Ross couldn't use, couldn't include. There are probably some compound words that are quite common.
Yeah.
More common than they used to be, but still, shouldn't be used in polite conversation.
Right.
Anyway, I think that his birthday may be December 6th because it seems like he won that Heisman Trophy right after.
Okay.
So how about the 6th caller for Johnny Manziel's birthday coming? I don't know which number it is. He ought to be close to 30 if he's not already there.
Got to be. So you can do that at 979-693-1150. Text us, TexAgs Coffee. The 6th person to do that will win themselves a free bag of TexAgs Coffee. I did the high and low broadcaster voice.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to be 30.
31?
31.
You
31. 30, wonderful. I remember when I turned 31. It's a long time ago.
Yeah, 30-something years ago. 31 years ago.
Almost 31 years ago.
Yeah. All right, let's get into some other topics here. Can we hear from Mike Elko?
Yeah, let's do.
Because he's making the rounds. By the way, we will get him on TexAgs here very, very soon. I would assume in the next week. Hopefully we'll get him in studio. But he made the rounds yesterday. He was on Pablo Feinbaum's show. I didn't watch the entire thing. I watched some clips that were surfacing out there. It was interesting. It looks like Paul really likes him. Like, came away very impressed.
I don't know that if you're looking at everything objectively, I don't know how you can't be impressed with the way Mike Elko handles himself and what he says. But let's also understand that even though I like Paul Feinbaum, he always seems to like everybody when they're on his show, and then give him a few weeks or a few months, and he'll trash the same people.
But sometimes playing the game is smart to change perception, right? I'm not saying that Elko's playing a game, but like endearing yourself to the high school coaches, maybe every once in a while going on the Feinbaum show, and I think Jimbo did a couple times.
I think he should do it every time he's asked. I know he did the Pat McAfee show, and I'm sure he'll be on others, and it probably has that I don't even know about. Of course, you got to get your program out there all the time. Yeah, every opportunity.
And also, it helps fight narratives when the people who set the agendas and the narratives out there like you.
Yeah. It's true.
I'm not saying that.
That's why. Well, I can tell you. I mean, we've had coaches here that weren't very good coaches, and yet the national media loved them. So they're always pumping up and writing positive things about A&M until they just couldn't.
Yeah. Well,
I'll let you try to come up with who I might be referring to on your own.
Well, he also went on the Pat McAfee show, as you said, and people like to poke fun at A&M traditions. Midnight Yell is one of those. So we had a loyal listener, David, email me a clip. He actually recorded for us, very nice of him, of how Elko handled that
very well
exchange.
Very well done.
Let's listen to Mike Elko yesterday with Pat McAfee.
That's phenomenal. Their fan base is always there. Always there. Every video I've seen, they are always there.
Any game, anytime, any opponent, whenever, wherever, we're going to be 103,000 strong in Kyle Field.
Coach, these videos have been hitting the internet, though, the night before games. They're called yell practice or something.
Something like that, yeah.
You need to, I mean, I assume it's a massive tradition, but those need not get let out publicly.
Can't have it.
Those you need to stay in-house. Those need to stay in-house, Coach. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but here's the thing you got to realize, though, Pat, and I tell this to people all the time. I've told them this about Texas A&M, right? People outside of it maybe don't understand it, but the spirit of this place is unique. And you tell me where else you can get 50,000 fans in the stadium 24 hours before kickoff.
Okay. All right. No. Hey, listen, maybe keep the yell practice.
Also true.
All right. Yeah.
Just saying.
Hey, Darius.
I'm just saying. Not a lot of programs that can put that many people in a stadium that far before kickoff.
People loyal down there.
Yeah.
People are loyal. He answered that perfectly.
I think that, look, I didn't go to A&M, right? I've been to one yell practice ever because I wanted to see what it was like. And I think it's awesome. I don't get the criticism of it. Is it you're not really practicing the yells, right?
Right.
But it's just part of getting jacked up for the weekend and for the game. What's wrong with that? Would you rather everybody just go get drunk and in fights like they may do at other places? I'm sure they do here too. But I think it's great. In fact, I would take recruits to yell practice and say, now imagine what it's going to be like tomorrow.
Right.
This is the kind of support you're going to get. So, but also I think it's great that I always say this about TexAgs when our competitors like to reference TexAgs. Oh, TexAgs said this or did that. And they're like, that's a good thing for TexAgs.
Yeah.
Because that means you're in their head. So that's just something that's a great thing for A&M, that people are talking about it. And it actually, again, gives more attention to A&M. And why? Well, because those crazy people are out there and they're supporting their team the day before the game. And then, like Mike Elko said, well, if you start thinking about that, that's actually not a criticism. That's a great thing.
Rent free, as the kids say.
Rent free.
Let's go around the room and say hello to the people. Nick Savage is behind the glass. One day when we move into the new studio, we won't have that glass. He'll be behind the wall. Nick, you're still behind the glass.
Yeah, well, I'm still behind a wall as well. But, you know, as kind of expanding on what Coach Elko said, how many schools get even 50,000 people to their games, you know? And A&M has 50,000 people going to yell
Is it really 50,000 that go to yell practice?
I mean,
depending on the opponent.
game.
I think it depends on the day. Yeah.
If it's a Bama game, LSU game, there'll be about 50,000.
I know, probably on November 29th.
You know what?
They might just sell out the whole stadium.
Out the stadium.
I got an idea.
What?
We can have Nick count next yell practice. We can do that.
What?
You can just go out there and just count the people. Yeah. You can just
sure.
You know what? I think A&M should start aspiring for 100,000 on November 29th yell practice.
You know what?
Start the movement. OB.
Yeah. If we get 300 likes, let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Aggies gather at the Angry Elephant. Leanna Davidson, hello.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
I think good.
Good.
I'm good.
I mean, are you actually asking?
Yeah, I'm
Let's
actually
get into
asking.
it.
How? Yeah.
I'm actually doing well.
I'm doing well, mate.
Yeah, after the new hire. Yeah. I have some volleyball updates, which we all know. What's going on tonight, guys?
I think the Texas A&M volleyball team are playing the Longhorns.
That is correct.
What's that in? The first round of the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
We heard from Jamie Morrison on the Tuesday that this match will be quite an interesting one, because we're going to see both the number 1 and number 2 blockers in the nation go head-to-head and have a bit of a showdown. So the sophomore Afena Kosopala, sorry if I butchered
Great
that.
pronunciation. Good.
Yeah, I said sorry if I butchered that.
No, that was great. I didn't. I just call her Fena.
Number 1 in blocking, recording 1.64 blocks per set. And then going into the match, Aggie's offense will star Logan Lednecki, Caroline Muth, and Bianna Munoki, who made up 70% of the team's total offense. Logan also leads the team in kills, recording 332. This is going to be an awesome matchup against number 5 Texas, starting at 6 p.m. tonight.
There's a shocker, though, that the NCAA would put A&M and Texas together in the first round. You know, like that never happens.
Yeah.
They're always. I mean, it's not even. I mean, I don't mind. I just find it funny, but it's not. It's like whenever the NCAA is trying to put together the tournament, you know, the committees, it's always set it up where it's Texas and A&M either in the first round or they'll are matched up to play in the second round, or if it's a term, if it's a group, they're always in the same group.
Yeah. Hey, Leanna, you got anything else for us?
I have some text messages.
Let's get into it. I see Marsha was confused.
Marsha is confused, yes.
But maybe it's my fault.
Maybe it is your fault. Isn't it usually your fault, David? He said, David, I called and I was told to text, not call. David, why is this?
What did I said text, didn't I? But I feel like
I think OB mentioned a call in as a caller for OB for coffee, but it's okay.
Okay,
yeah,
you know
I think
what?
they're talking about the coffee.
The coffee, that's all I think
text.
they're talking about.
That's a text giveaway.
You know what, Marsha? Get Marsha
a free bag of coffee as well. Okay.
It'll come out of OB's haircut.
OB's haircut fund.
I'll buy her some coffee. Is it him or her?
Marsha?
Well, or is it? Could it be Marshall? And they just
no, it's Marsha.
How much?
Marsha's you don't have to pull out the. Look at the. You got a 10 in there? Holy smokes!
Oh whoa!
Oh God, bro!
Man,
I didn't know people had cash anymore.
I roll in and go, yeah, you know what? That's another story to get. But I refuse to go to places that don't accept cash. If you can't buy something in the United States of America with hard American currency, then you don't deserve my business. There.
There you have it.
Leanna, let's find a way out of this.
Yeah, so Matt in San Antonio says, I'd give the sports person of the year to Shohei Ohtani over Dion easily.
There you go.
So
There's
both
another
Shohei! Yeah, at that level is ridiculous. I completely agree there.
There's so many better candidates or choices.
Absolutely. All right, let's hit a break. Leanna, great job. Thank you very much. OB, Thursday?
Thursday.
Tell me what you and I have shared on a Thursday.
We've shared pork chops. Well, we didn't actually share pork chops.
We shared a moment.
We both had pork chops at Fargo's.
You had an intimate encounter with a pork chop in front of me. That's what we shared, that moment.
An intimate encounter.
Just go ahead.
Well, you know what? Maybe because when I go to Fargo's, I don't just eat that food. I love that food.
I think I set you up
enjoy that
royally
food.
bad on this one. I took it a direction I shouldn't have done.
I get that pork chop.
Yeah, you do.
And I make love to that pork chop.
You know what that pork chop would say to you right now?
You know what it said? You know what the pork chop would say? It'd say, "I love you too." And because of that, I'm going to bring in some macaroni and cheese to this party.
But it says one more thing. I love you so much, I want you to get a mullet. That's what the pork chop just said.
I didn't hear him pork chop say, because the pork chop was just whispered into my ear. Enjoy this, the taste of this food.
Sorry, did you hear that?
No, it's pork chop. Pork chop.
This is the worst
grilled pork chop.
1701 South Texas Avenue in Bryan. Without a doubt, the what?
The best barbecue in Texas, i.e. the world.
Be sure to say howdy to Alan Belender and Maurice. By the way, that's their trademark.
Because it's true, baby.
It's Fargo's. We are back, TexAgs Radio. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers in the Rollo Insurance Studio. Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. All right, let's a couple things. First off, my buddy Philip just texted me, asked me how my first day back at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu went. I haven't been during this coaching search, so it's been a minute. It's been 2 weeks, right? 2 or 3 weeks, right? I hadn't been. I went last night to Brazos Valley MMA, and I ran into Bubba Bush. He just had his third kid. Used to be a UFC fighter. He runs the place. Went to A&M, by the way. Great guy, so congratulations to Bubba Bush. But there's a lot of young kids out there, Olin, and I don't like getting hurt. And sometimes I get hurt when I go.
Well, if you can't handle the heat, get out of the kitchen, right?
Well, I made the kitchen.
Yeah.
I made the kitchen. Can we talk about Heisman time?
We can.
Yeah? Can we get into, because
speaking of getting hurt?
Because I have a feeling this weekend could change the way people vote for the Heisman.
Oh, absolutely. Unfortunately, there are some guys that have already voted.
Right.
There always are. But, you should always wait till I always wait till the Monday after the conference championship games.
This Heisman Watch brought you by Shirtlift Law Firm. Shirtlift Law Firm, delivering justice for those who need it most. All right, let's get into it. Who's your number one?
I'm going to start with number 5.
Okay, number 5.
And by the way, feel free to argue, interject. But number 5, I'm sticking with Jordan Travis, the Florida State quarterback. Yes, I know he's injured, so you can't win it being the number 5 pick because, first of all, they only take 3 picks. But I would put him number 5 on my list. You can't deny the season he was having. It wasn't the huge stats, but it was good stats. But he was leading his team to an unbeaten record and playing really well. So I had Jordan Travis, number 5. Number 4, I got to go. I'm sorry, Aggies, I got to go with the best receiver in the country, Malik Neighbors of LSU. 86 catches for a national leading 1,546 yards. He also has 14 touchdowns. Unfortunately, 2 of those were against the Aggies. He had more than 100 receiving yards in 9 games this season. That includes against Texas A&M, that 42-30 loss. He had Neighbors had 6 catches for 122 yards, and as mentioned, 2 touchdowns. That was his 5th game with at least 2 touchdowns.
Who, and it may be as simple as just stats, who was the best wide receiver A&M faced? Who had the best performance? Is it Jermaine Burton?
Probably.
Trey Harris?
Didn't Burton have...
He had 209 yards, I believe it was.
Yeah, wasn't it 3 touchdowns or maybe it's just 2?
He was unstoppable.
Yeah, I think he had the best performance this year against A&M, without a doubt.
Malik Neighbors was excellent.
He was excellent. But see, they were distributing
BTJ.
the ball.
Yeah.
Right. And, those last, 3 touchdown passes, we're going to get to that in the fourth quarter, all to 3 different receivers.
Yep.
Yeah.
Next up.
Michael Penix, the Washington quarterback. He's 2nd in the nation in passing. He's thrown for 3,899 yards. That's just one away from 3,900, by the way. And 32 touchdowns last week, though. 204 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a 24-21 victory over Washington State.
I think if he has, and number 2, I'll let you do number 2. Go ahead.
Okay, number 2, Bo Nix, the Oregon quarterback. He's the nation's leading passer. He's thrown for 3,906 yards, 37 touchdown passes. 2nd in the nation in total offense with 4,065 total yards. Last week in that 31-7 victory over Oregon State, 367 yards, 2 touchdown passes, rushed for 31 yards and a score. And did you see the game, the big touchdown pass he threw just before the half?
Yeah.
Man, that's a Heisman moment.
Well, I was going to say, if the winner of this game between these 2 teams, if Bo Nix has just a Heisman-esque type of performance, or Michael Penix, or they both, I think they could pass Jaden Daniels with some of the voters. They could.
Well, could. I think they're already ahead of him with some of the voters, especially those on the West Coast. But number 1 in my mind is Jaden Daniels, the LSU quarterback. Please disagree with me if you must. I would listen and I'd hear you out, but
he's my guy right now.
But Daniels leads the nation in total offense, 4,946 yards. That's 881 yards more than anyone else. And he didn't do the stat padding games. Go back and look what he did against like Grambling,
right?
Or Army. He's passed for 3,812 yards and leads the nation with 40 touchdown passes. Also rushed for 1,134 yards and 10 touchdowns. We're talking about a guy that by the season, I know the voting's over before the bowl game, but he's going to have over 1,000 yards rushing and over 4,000 yards passing. In that win over Texas A&M, just 235 passing yards, but 4 touchdowns. And 3 of those were, like I said, in the fourth quarter. He didn't score a rushing touchdown, even though he had 120 yards, but we know his 49-yard scramble kind of changed that game.
It absolutely did. By the way, we got a text, and it says, Olin will have to stop attending Aggie sporting events. It's all cashless.
Well, I don't pay.
Oh, yeah, you're Mr. Media. You are the media.
When there is an option to pay, there should always be an option to pay. I understand the way things are now. Sometimes you have to use your credit card. But like if I go into I'll give you an. There's one day I wanted a milkshake. I was with the family.
Yeah.
And I walk in and I start to order the shake, and they made it. I start to take out my cash to pay for it. And so we don't take cash.
Oh, no.
So what do you mean you don't take cash? Well, no, we don't take cash. I went, enjoy the shake. And I left and didn't take the shake.
There's a Chinese joint that I go to in Dallas that only takes cash. Only cash. They don't play around. It's only cash. And every time I got to find an ATM.
I don't think they should do it that way either. But I'm just saying.
But it's so good.
In America, you can't use American currencies. Did they do that in Australia? Can you use a Australian dollar to buy something?
Yeah, not really since COVID, but I have a pretty funny comment on the YouTube chat just to add to this. So Matt Tackle says, I'm a few minutes behind, but OB with the random cash bills makes sense. Old dudes always carry some weird amount of cash. My dad insisted we bury him with whatever cash he still had in his wallet.
At what age do you accept that you're old? Like, for instance, I know in this community I'm old, but I don't feel old.
Yeah, well, in this community, because it's a college town.
Everybody, to me, in this community, everybody's 80 or 18. There's no in between.
In this community, they think I'm deceased.
There's this ghost walking around.
Yeah.
But at what age are you like, yeah, I guess I am old? Because I think I'm about to be there.
It wasn't so much as the age. It was the amount of times I get up in the night to urinate. And I went, yeah, I'm old. I hit 3. The first time I hit 3 times up, I said, yeah, I guess I'm old.
Do you drink a lot of water before bed?
Not necessarily, no. Okay. It doesn't matter how much I drink or not. It's just going to happen.
We're going to class up the joint when we come
No,
back.
we're not.
RC Slocum?
Oh, yeah, we are.
Okay. Thank you. We're gonna go straight football. We're gonna talk to the legendary coach here on TexAgs Radio. Right now, we're talking about Heritage Films. Chance McClain's company. He's my buddy. He's my former boss, but he's definitely a dear friend who does storytelling at the highest of levels. He started a radio station back in the day. He's done movies. He's done Broadway musicals. He's done a little bit of everything. A couple years back, he created Heritage Films to tell people's stories, right? And when he tells their stories, there's different options of the kind of story you can tell, but they're awesome. Like you want to tell like your buddy's story. You get together and you do every year. You do the Turkey Bowl, right? Like we used to do that. Our buddies, we'd get together and play football on Thanksgiving. You want to tell that story? Have Chance come out, shoot it, like put it into a documentary form, interview all the players. Maybe you play golf on every Saturday morning with your crew. Have him come out there, tell that story. He can also do a documentary about your dad, your uncle, your family business, your family ranch. That's one section of what they do at Heritage Films. They also have Year Flicks, which are these 20-minute videos. They're more reserved for like the younger audience, but you can do one on your son who's a freshman in college, right, at Texas A&M. You want to find out what they're into, like really find out in an artistic way. Make it a 4-part series, right? Freshman year, sophomore year, junior year, they change their major. Senior year, well, they got to be a little bit longer, so you do the 5th year. And there you go. You got your 5-part story there from Chance McClain. The website, yourheritagefilm.com, 713-893-8341, 713-893-8341. TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio Go Hour presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. Let's go to the Brian Foley Law Hotline, talk to the most beloved A&M head coach, the legendary R.C. Slocum. Coach Slocum, good morning. How are you, sir?
Good morning.
So let's get into this hire of Coach Elko, Coach Mike Elko. Your thoughts on bringing a defensive-minded head coach to A&M, just your thoughts on the hire overall.
Well, I'm very pleased with it. I knew Mike when he was here. I watched his work here. I thought he did great work at A&M. I think he's a good guy. And in terms of the defensive head coach, you know, there's a couple of guys in the SEC that were former defensive coaches, and they've done pretty well. The coach at Alabama and the coach at Georgia. To name a couple of guys that had defensive backgrounds. I knew both of them when they were assistants, and they've done a great job. So I told people a defensive coach has spent his career in film rooms watching offenses and having to defend offenses. So he knows full well what's really hard and what's not so hard and what wins games.
Hey, RC, this is Olin Buchanan here. Mike made a point at his introductory press conference to talk about creating the relationship with the Texas high school football coaches, things like that. Why is that? And I know you recruited Texas great. You always said that you thought you could win a national championship with just Texas guys. But you tell me from a coach's perspective, why is that so important even today?
I think it's really important, and I was so glad to see him reach out to the high school coaches. This is a great football state. You can make the argument the best, or certainly one of the best 2 or 3 in the whole country that produces college and NFL players. And I've always felt like if you at Texas A&M, your base recruiting has to be in Texas. And one of the big reasons you can see these kids when they're young, and you can make good evaluations. It's not just getting guys; it's getting guys that fit your program, that want to be here. And you can get in the car and drive 3 hours in any direction, and you can go across a whole lot of great college prospects. And you know the coaches, have a relationship with them. You get straight information with them. And a lot of those guys have had. You go into high school, and the guys had 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 great college players that went on, and they can give you good information about, say, hey, this guy here, you need to look at him. I remember going to school, and the coach would tell me with a sophomore, he said, here's one over here you need to keep your eye on. And you go in, that might be Aaron Wallace or someone like that. And so getting that kind of information, you can't spend enough time in New Jersey and South Carolina or Ohio to get that kind of information. And I do think that with the name A&M has, there are always people that are around the country where you got ties to kids, and there are reasons for a kid from out of state to come. Like I recruited Sir Parker, and his family wanted him to get out of L.A. They were worried about the atmosphere out there, and they were welcoming. He had an aunt that lived in Houston. She came with him on his recruiting visit, and so there are guys like that you can hand pick around. But you ought to make your living. I always said, like on game day after the game, the guys had to face me. But what I wanted them to do was have mom and daddy and little brother up there in the stands. And after the game, be looking forward to seeing them after a big win. And we were fortunate. I think we lost 4 home games in 10 years there. And we had a whole lot of mothers and dads up in the stands watching those kids. And we had a whole lot of Texas kids. And a bunch of them went on. I think 54 were drafted during my time in the NFL. And so, and I didn't worry about this. I didn't worry about 5-star or 3-star or whatever. I told my coaches, 5-star means that's someone you should not overlook. You ought to do a good evaluation, a thorough evaluation, but in no way do I want to take a guy just because he's 5-star. The guy might be a 3-star. I recently talked to an NFL coach, and he said in looking at the NFL draft and comparing that to guys coming out of high school, that it's roughly broken down into thirds. There, 1/3 of the first-round draft choices were 5-stars coming out of high school. 1/3 were 4-stars, and 1/3 were 3 stars or lower. So you can get caught up in all that. You got some guy never played football that's saying, "Oh, I got this guy at a 5.8. Oh, I got this guy ranked 7.3." I want to know what my coaches have him ranked, and I'll sit there and evaluate: does this guy fit in our program at Texas A&M? And the high school coaches in this state is how you get that information. You can have summer camps. You can have kids from Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, Lufkin, whatever. They can come to your camp. The parents can bring them over, and you get to see the guy catch the ball yourself. You get to see him run and see his agility, and you get to know him as a person. So I think it's extremely important to, I would go and my staff would go every year to the high school coaching convention. There's a huge clinic. One of the best clinics in college football is in San Angelo. Every year Father's Day, and I spent about 25, I don't know how many years I was out there as an assistant and the head coach. I went every year to that coaching clinic just to be around and let those guys know that their work was important to me, and any way we could help them. They'd come in here, we'd have a spring clinic for the high school coaches. So anyway, that's a long answer to your question.
It's a good one, though.
Coach Slocum with us here on TexAgs Radio. Coach Slocum, they haven't had sustained success, at A&M since you were here. I'm sure you had talks with the administration. Why do you think there hasn't been sustained success?
I don't know. I wish I had the answer to that. One thing that we've done is we've done a great job. I felt like when I was coaching, we were way behind in our facilities. And I told people that. I just couldn't get it done fast enough. I finally got when we started the zone, that project was intended to start with to get better football facilities for our players. Now, the zone helped us sell tickets and helped improve that north end zone. But it didn't do anything to the players, really. It wasn't anything in terms of a recruiting advantage or anything like that. And we needed that locker room facility, the Bright building. And I went out and raised the money to do that. I never got to use the building. I got fired before I was recruiting on it. And we were having my last year, a really good recruiting year. The quarterback from Baytown that was committed to us went to Iowa. A&M turned him down, and he went to Iowa, and he's Offensive Player of the Year in the Big Ten Conference as a sophomore, as a quarterback, a kid named Drew Tate. And so the facilities make a huge difference, and A&M has done a great job. Our former students have stepped up, the school has stepped up, and we have comparable facilities right now to all the top programs in the country. And I think that is paying dividends and will continue to pay dividends. And what we have to do now, we've got great leadership. I love our new president at A&M. I think he's a great leader, and I think he would do a great job at A&M. So we've got all the pieces in place, and we need someone just to come in and to develop the guys, pick the right guys, first of all. And it's very easy to dismiss led and say, "Oh, man, we had a great recruiting year. We got this many 5-stars, and this guy's from here and there." How many good guys did you get to come in here and play and be disciplined and play? And that's the next phase we have, I think, is developing the guys, picking the right guys, and then developing those guys. And I think Mike Elko will do that. I think he understands that. He's been in a place where they had to develop guys, and I think we'll have discipline. And I'm encouraged. I think maybe it's all lining up right now.
Coach, you suspect that it's hard today in recruiting to find guys that want to play for the college team that in the college program that's recruiting them, as opposed to just for NIL or just to prepare themselves for the NFL? And if so, how would you think you go about finding the guy that really plays with the passion for the team that in that jersey that he's wearing?
Well, first of all, you mentioned two things there, the NFL and the NIL. And first of all, I really wanted guys that aspired to be NFL players and that had the ability. I tell my coaches, if we look at this guy and if we can't project him as someday playing the NFL, we shouldn't bring him here, because that's what we're going to play against with the good teams. We should. He may not be big enough now, but he's got to be athletic enough, smart enough, tough enough, all those things, to someday say that guy can have a career in the NFL. So that's a positive right there, and I think it should be a major part of your recruiting. The second thing is the character issue of getting a guy that is a good person. I went to every home. I told them, mother, I wouldn't be here unless I thought your son was a good person. And I'll pledge to you that I'll try to keep him going on the path you've got him going on. And I wouldn't take, there were some guys that were athletic guys around that I just said, we're not bringing him. There's no way am I bringing him with me knowing the Aggies I know and our administration. I'm not bringing that guy to Texas A&M. He's already demonstrated. I'm not in the rescue business of taking thugs and trying to make good. I'm into taking good guys and trying to keep them on the path they're on and polish on them and help them be better. So that's all important. Now, the NIL is a new direction in college football. It's the rules now, and I'm not a big fan of it. But that being said, I'm glad that if that's the rules, I'm glad that A&M donors have stepped up and that we are being competitive in that market. And it's a part of saying, hey, first, I think you got to be very careful saying, we want you to come here. We don't want you to come here for NIL. And we're not going to just get in a bidding deal to make you come here. We want this to be a good fit for you and your family. And if you do, then you'll be compensated here as you would be at other good places. But that's not a reason to come here, and we don't want to make it a reason to come here.
Coach Slocum, incredible stuff. Thank you so much for
wisdom.
making great wisdom. I appreciate you very, very much.
All right. Thank you. You guys have a good day.
You too. R.C. Slocum there on the Brian Foley Law Hotline.
I loved working with him. When I was at the Eagle, when I was at the Statesman, he was just a guy that would never lie to you. Now, he might make you work to get some information, but he would never lie to you.
Not in the rescue business.
Oh, wasn't that awesome?
That was a great soundbite.
That is, that's something that should resonate with everybody.
Right.
Every coach should use that.
Hey, if your organization or business is looking for an opportunity to engage with other Aggies, then check out the Association of Former Students. They bring Aggies of all ages together during events held throughout the year. Marquee events such as Aggie Ring Day, All Aggie Hullabaloo, and Gathering welcome tens of thousands of guests. There are many sponsorship vendor opportunities available to get your brand in front of attendees. All events offer a wide variety of digital and in-person options to promote your brand. Options include title sponsor, naming, on-site presence, activation, recognition in social media posts, and much more. There are also advertising opportunities in both the Texas Aggie Magazine and the Aggie News newsletter, which are seen by over 230,000 people. So if your business is ready to engage with Aggies, choose a partner with the organization that's been supporting the Aggie Network for over 140 years. For more information and options available through the association, please email sponsorships@aggienetwork.com. Hey, everybody. TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. It is the Go Hour presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. Ryan Swope's with us. Stephen McGee's with us. And Olin Buchanan. And I heard a part of the conversation that was going on as I was preparing for this segment. And Stephen has asked for Olin to do what exactly, Mr. McGee?
I want his RC voice for the entire final segment.
Well, I don't think I do a very good RC imitation, but if you want me to try, I will. Now, I'll say this. Texas A&M, I'd still be the coach there if I had been able to coach Stephen McGee and Ryan Swope.
So good.
That is really good.
That's a really good one. You're right up there with Shirtliff.
Do people know that he's
Shirtliff?
Yeah.
Oh, he's a legend.
I know he's a legend, but do people know that he does it?
Oh my God, yes.
All right.
Yeah, he's done
Have you heard his?
I have. I heard it, and I think it's really good.
Coach Slocum's the man.
How would you do Coach Slocum in Spanish?
I don't know because I don't speak Spanish, but I'd probably say Buenos dias, David. That's what I'd say.
Guys.
Oh man, that's great.
Since we only got about a minute and a half left, how do we feel about the Mike Elko hire?
I'm pumped.
Yeah,
I'm excited. He was my number one. I think he was McGee's number one. I think
my number one.
Yeah, I don't know what took so long, but man, I'm thrilled. I'm excited about it.
I am fired up.
Yeah.
I love Mike Elko. I've been a big Mike Elko fan. I love that guy doesn't care. He wears like 1995 Dickies khakis, the ugliest A&M hat. That dude doesn't care. He drives a 1995 Honda Accord. He just wants to coach football.
Yeah.
He is good as the day is long. He's smart. He's the right guy for our program. I'm pumped up.
Mm-hmm.
As well you should be.
Hey, do you think Olin Buchanan should get a mullet after what happened yesterday on the show?
Yes.
Oh, no. Olin's handsome enough as he is. I think he should just stick to that handsome look that he already has.
That sounded more like Olin than RC right there. You lost it. He lost it at the end. It was great for a while.
Oh, gosh. I love RC, by the way.
We all do.
Yeah.
Obi, thank you. You gentlemen sticking around, all right?
All right.
So good.
All right, it is TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. That is the Go Hour presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. More with these two next on TexAgs. All right, we're back. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Ryan Stropes with us. Stephen McGee's with us. We only had a few seconds. We went a little long with the real Slocum and then the fake Slocum. But, gentlemen, thanks for coming into the studio.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, a little formal intro. So anything about Coach Elko that is impressing you, like, now? Like, you guys wanted him as the hire, but, like, how he's made the rounds with media, how he's already starting to set the agenda. Adagio's gone, Damian Craig's gone, Petrino's gone. He's going to have a new offensive staff. What is, like, jumping out about what he's done so far?
I think he's just handled it very professionally. I think he's got a vision here. I think, he's got a purpose here. I think he's going to do big things here. Just from day one, him getting off the airplane and just listening to him talk and just hearing the excitement in his voice to be here. I'm pumped.
I am too, man.
I think it was a home run hire. A lot of people, some people, didn't want him here. I think it was a fantastic hire, and I think he's gonna do big things here. I think we're gonna compete next year too. Like, that's the exciting part. That people are like, oh, it takes, we get a coach, we expect to win, 8 games, would be good. I think Elko's like, we're gonna win 10 games next year.
Yeah.
That's his mentality.
Right.
So I'm excited.
So I love that day one, he sets the culture expectation and he starts removing people that don't fit the culture line. You got to let your guys know immediately. This kind of vision I have and the type of people I want around my program. And so I greatly appreciate that. I guess I'm most excited, though, because when you talk to all levels of staff that have been around Mike Elko, whether it's the first-year freshman equipment guy that normal head coaches would never know his name, they love Mike Elko, and they respect him. That says a lot to me. And then the guys that coached with him that listened to him during defensive installs and doing X's and O's, they rave about how smart he is and what a great on-the-field coach is. And then they say from a player's perspective how much these guys love playing for him and respect him. And coaches respect him. He's a great recruiter. He signed a bunch of the guys here, right? Like he was a part of that recruiting process. So he's able to retain a lot of those guys. You see Connor Wigman, who's the most important guy, staying right now on board, right? And so that is very important day one. So he's starting to check all these boxes. It seemed like a no-brain hire. I mean, obviously the pipe dream was Dan Campbell. I think everyone knew that wasn't going to happen. But other than him, Mike Elko is the answer for all of these reasons.
Well, he's the answer. He gets it. What did you think of the whole Saturday night, the way it all played out, from the end of the LSU game, which was a terrible fourth quarter, to your face already told me the answer, Mark Stoops potentially being the guy?
Yeah, I didn't know what was going on. I was up till you and I were texting till like 12:30 that night, just trying to figure out what the hell was going on. I still don't know what went on, but yeah, we went, I guess, full Aggie on that one. But, man, I'm just glad that Elko's here. Let's just put it that way. I think he just fits this program really well. But what are your thoughts on that? Do you
Look,
guys...
Mark Stoops is a good football coach.
I think he's a really good.
No, he is.
Everyone respects him, and it just didn't
fit, right?
It didn't fit for us at the time. He's an older guy, a decade older, not super old, but he just felt like a poor version of Jimbo Fisher. We would have been paying 2 of the top 10 highest paid coaches simultaneously, Jimbo and him. It was just counter to what the message had been publicly to the Aggie fan base, that we're going to get a guy that's hungry with more incentive-based contracts. And I don't buy for a second that Mark Stoops was going to get on Texas A&M and take a pay cut. He was already at $9.05 million.
Yeah.
Right? We wanted some guy to be incentivized to win. Look, at the end of the day, he could have come here and won a lot of football games, but you want a guy that already had roots here, that you have more value in the contract, and that's Mike Elko. I would rather forget about the money side of it, I would rather have Mike Elko than Mark Stoops.
100%. I think Elko gets us there quicker too.
Mm-hmm.
And like Steven was saying earlier, just all the guys respect him. All the coaches respect him. And also, I've heard that he has, his time here, he's got pretty good roots with the Texas football coaches, the high school football coaches, which is huge. And I heard Coach Slocum talking about that, how important that is. And you don't have to go very far, especially you don't have to – I don't even think you got to leave this state. Now, obviously, we will, but I think just having good relationships with those high school coaches, and I think Mike Elko fits that mold for this program and is going to I think it was a slam dunk. So.
Are we just the right guy away, right head coach, right vision, right guy away from being that consistent 10, 11 win team?
I think we put too much emphasis on the head coach.
Okay.
I think that we have to get the right assistants.
100%.
I think if you look at the failures of the last 4 staffs, it's been consistently weak assistant coaches at too many positions.
Mm-hmm.
You have to get the right guys culturally that buy into what you're doing and the vision you have as a head coach. That's certainly a non-negotiable. And they have to be able to recruit, certainly. But you need smart football coaches. You can't have liabilities. And I think there's too many college football coaches that are liabilities from an X's and O's perspective. They're just not good. They don't understand the game well enough. And so getting the right hires is crucial. Here's my biggest pet peeve in the way the college game has gone in the last decade, in my opinion, is that we rely too heavily, I say we, saying
just fan bases in general.
Coaches are relying on their agents to hire too many of their staff. Jimmy Sexton to make his position hires. You need to be the one interviewing these guys. It may be okay for them to provide a list of guys, but they're going to provide a list of guys that they're already representing. It's so there's so much conflict of interest built into that. And these agents, they've never taken a snap of football.
They're not in the staff.
They don't know.
They're looking at dollar sounds.
Yeah, you need to interview these guys and talk football with them and make sure that they're in line with what it is you're looking for. If you're not involved in that process, you're going to get the wrong guys consistently. So I hope that that's not the case for what's going to happen, because obviously you got to get a great OC guy.
Yeah, who's it going to be, you think?
Man, but think about it like this. As an OC, if you're an OC, Dave, what's the attractive job? You want to go where there's a new head football coach, right? Because you have more solidity in your job, right? You are going to have a defensive-minded coach that's going to be out of your way. He's not involved. You do your thing. You run your show. You have one of the best young quarterbacks in college football. You have a bevy of talent on that offensive side. You have all of these facilities. I mean, what more could you ask for? And you're going to get a high price. I mean, you're going to get a...
Well, and let me also pause. Last year, I think part of the issue getting a young up-and-coming or a hot name was because, am I really going to be the OC? Am I really... Here, it feels like now, and I thought...
We all knew that wasn't going to work.
Well, did you guys hear Pacino's soundbite yesterday?
Yeah, I did.
Did you hear it?
I did not.
He basically said he got there, and everything was Jimbo's language, so he had to learn. And
I did hear that.
Yeah, and
I read it somewhere.
He didn't necessarily say it wasn't my offense, but he alluded it wasn't his offense, and it was all the things that I fought against early. No, Jimbo's going to let him, because I really thought Jimbo was going to let him. Doesn't sound like Jimbo let him.
There wasn't freedom.
Yeah.
He may have, I think he's probably advised him and was over his shoulder constantly. And as a offensive coordinator, you feel that kind of pressure from your head coach jumping down your throat. It's just not going to work because it doesn't allow him to open his playbook up and be aggressive like he was. And so we saw that. I thought so.
Well, I thought he brought up a good point, is just because that terminology wasn't natural to him, his play calls were a little bit slower, right?
Yeah.
Getting him into
100%.
the game.
Oh, you could see it.
Yeah. And then watch what our offense did those last 3 weeks. It looked very different. It felt different. We were adjusting the offense for the quarterback, right? More run-based calls, moving the pocket, helping that young offensive line. Quick game. Remember? We talked about screens.
We
look what happened. We started moving the football with the third-string quarterback on the road. I mean, I get it. That fourth quarter was not great, but you had a third-string quarterback that went in there and played his tail off for 3 quarters.
It was different offense.
Yeah. I mean,
night and day.
I'm curious to see what happens now at Arkansas. And
I think they're going to be pretty salty. I do.
Well, if KJ stays, right? Because there's rumors that KJ may go into the portal. If they lose KJ Jefferson, which I know you're not a huge KJ guy, but a 4 or 5 year starter makes a difference.
That's fair. I mean, hey, look, Petrino with an athletic quarterback like that, they can do something.
Watch out.
Watch out for him.
Are you guys a little encouraged beyond the Elko stuff, but the fact that these players haven't flocked to the portal, right? Like, it feels like guys are being patient, seeing, all right, I want to get to know Mike. All right, I want to see who he brings in. Like, there hasn't been, like, everybody thought there was going to be a mass exodus. There hasn't been yet.
Yet. I think these players love Texas A&M. How could you not? Right. Am I right? I think these kids, this place recruits itself. You show up, you watch a game, you just, it's an experience like anything you'll ever see in college football. It's the best place to be. This place recruits itself. Now that we've got Elko in here, I think a lot of these guys want to be here. They want to figure out a way how to go win. We've got the greatest fan base. We've got great donors. We've got great support, lots of resources. I think these kids want to win, and I think a lot of them are going to stick around.
Heck yeah. I mean,
I would. I wouldn't be leaving.
I didn't think, we talked about this, I didn't think that we had the coins to make the move.
Yep.
And we did. And then I didn't think we had the coins to pay a guy a guaranteed, $7 million a year for the next guy.
Right.
And we did. And I didn't think we were going to have enough money for the assistant pool. Now we're already topping Alabama day one in the assistant pool money.
I know.
So we did it again. And that just goes to show you how much support Texas A&M is putting behind this program and how important it is. I mean, time and time again, the facilities, our donors, you can't ask for anything more. They are doing everything possible to get a championship quality team. And we just got to find the right guy. And
we found him.
We've made a step. Now we got to get great assistants.
Yeah. I'm curious.
It's not over yet.
Who we get? No, it's not. No, it's not. I also, OC search, I heard Gerard Johnson's name being thrown around. I love that.
I can't see him leaving the NFL because I think he's going to be an OC in the NFL next year.
He has a great, I mean,
do you think
I'm biased because he's my boy.
Yeah.
And so.
Dude, I think he'd be good, man.
He would be phenomenal. I mean, he checks all the boxes.
He's so smart.
He's the quarterback coach of arguably one of the best rookie quarterback performances ever. I mean, that has been nothing short of miraculous.
Yeah.
And so he's the guy in the cage with those guys. He's been working under some really, really good coordinators, and offensive-minded quarterback guru head coach coordinators. And so I'm right there with you.
Yeah, how can we get him
The question
here?
is, does he leave the NFL game to go be an OC? I don't know.
He could be the Texans' offensive coordinator because their OC, and I'm speculating here, is expected to get some head coaching opportunities after this year. And he'd be the logical choice to move up. Or somebody else may pick him. But there is a lure to come back home, right?
Man, yeah. I'd love to see JJ on that sideline again. I'll never forget that guy, just such a loyal Aggie. I had that shoulder injury that really hurt him, but I'll never forget. He would go down, wear his shoulder pads, and he'd have his headphones on, and he basically was coaching with shoulder pads on, talking to all of our coaches, making, play calls, doing signals, just such a smart, when it comes to football, he is football smart. And he knows how to adapt to these players very well, where they trust him, and you need that sense of trust.
He relates to so many different types. I mean, you bring in people from all over the country. Gerard can relate to all of them. I mean, that's
every single one of them.
I mean, he can sing country music.
Yeah.
And
really
then he can go sing
a rap song.
What is your guy?
Bad Bunny?
Bad Bunny. I guarantee you can sing some Bad Bunny. But Gerard, he really does check all the boxes. I mean, how about this, though, for perseverance? Was he on like 6 or 7 training camps? Can you imagine?
He's been working his tail off, man.
I mean, to finally get the break. I told him, I was like, dude, I'm pumped for you. Just like, I think he wants to be the head football coach of Texas A&M. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Yeah.
And he should. He deservedly should. So he's definitely a name to keep in mind for whenever Mike Elko wins the national championship and retires at age 55. I would not be surprised to see Gerard.
And by the way, Gerard is somebody that his rise has been quick. I remember I was working at ABC 13 when he was working at St. Thomas, I think it was St. Thomas High School, as an assistant, like trying to learn the ropes. And then you saw the rise.
Well, he's doing Elite 11 camps. I mean, he's had to grind ever since the training camp. I mean, he was doing those quarterback stuff while he was trying to make a roster. And it really is. I mean, from our perspective, it's a quick rise. But from his perspective, it's probably been this slow, incredible grind. because he's 36 years old and he just, became a quarterback coach, and he's thinking to himself, man, he should have become the Eagles quarterback coach 2 years ago.
Right.
And the last second, the business side of it got in the way. And, he didn't get the break. And so the perseverance that he's had to just last and maintain to get the break is phenomenal.
Guts. Yeah,
and I think players respect that, right?
Oh, 100%. It takes guts to do what he's been doing. And he's well-deserving, for sure.
What makes RC so beloved, in your opinion? I mean, because it's players that didn't play for him. It's fans that didn't even grow up watching him. And those of us who did grow up watching him. Like, what in your opinion, your encounters, what makes him so beloved?
I mean, I think he's just your blue-collar, do it the right way, work hard kind of guy. A coach that you want to go play for. He doesn't cuss, but he's very competitive, and he wants to win. And so I think Coach Slocum checks all the boxes, and I think he's not. And I heard about him talking about the recruiting. I think he's spot on the evaluation side of things. Don't go after stars. Let's go and grade these guys out and give them our own grades.
Yeah.
And ignore all because I mean, ultimately, Coach Slocum said it. He's, as much as there is a talented guy, maybe he's a 5-star, he wants to make sure that he checks all the boxes from a character standpoint, which is very important. And so I think that's why Coach Slocum had so much success here, because he wasn't only recruiting what you can do for me on the field.
Right.
He was looking at what can you do for me off the field, and how can you help us win, this team win. So
I think the character side of that, to Swope's point, obviously with Coach Slocum, but also, when you have a head coach that leaves, you're like, I don't really feel like he's an Aggie, right? Like Coach Slocum is an Aggie. He loves this place. Yeah. He loves the brand. And yeah, he was here for a long time and he had an incredible amount of success. We love him for that. But I feel like even if it would have ended earlier than when it did for him, he would have still been an Aggie, right?
Yeah.
And I love that about him. He appreciates our brand.
Yeah. Other coaches have gone, right? They've left. This RC Slocum is about this. Let's talk a little bit about the business of coaching. I'm going to read you a text that came in that I want to defend Coach Elko, so let me read it out. Aaron from College Station. A little disappointed in Coach Elko. He wasn't up front with his Duke players, and Duke found out the way they did, woke up and saw Elko leaving for College Station. There's got to be a better way to say goodbye. Hope it doesn't bite him in the butt at some point. And my point to all that is the timing of the way things played out. It wasn't agreed to until late that evening, and you gotta go. Like there's never a good way. Like, okay, wait till 9 a.m. Don't let the news get out. Hey, guys, that's I guess my defense of it is it happened so fast. Even though to us it felt like it dragged out, for him, Saturday afternoon or Sunday afternoon, things are changing. Sunday night, he's agreeing to something, and it's midnight. It's time to go.
No comment. I mean, sorry, Duke.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I hate that these kids, and I don't know I hadn't read into that if there's promises made or whatnot. Look, it stinks. You have a coach there, and he wasn't there for very long, but that's part of the game now. Yeah, I mean, it's all about, at the end of the day, Coach Elko had to make a decision that's best for his family, and that's getting back to Texas A&M. So,
I totally agree. I mean, it's your point though. The timing of it it was tough. I mean, obviously, he's the kind of guy though. If he had the opportunity, he's going to go talk to the team and do that the right way. But some things happen in the middle of the night, and you gotta go.
I think he scheduled a Zoom with him the next day, which was what was reported. Let's close out with this. A&M, Texas, we've already known the game was coming, but now we got a date. It's exactly a year from today. Now it's starting to feel real. This season's done. Their Texas is still playing, unfortunately, but this season's basically done outside the bowl game. Just your thoughts, guys.
Man, go ahead.
That's a good football team coming to town.
Yeah, it is.
I'm fired up. That rivalry is going to be heated, and hopefully we retain our roster. I'm fired up with Mike Elko because I think he can come here and have success.
I do too.
Year one.
Yeah, I love this rivalry. I'll be honest with you. A lot of Aggies, they didn't want to play the T-SIPs. Excuse me. I think it's not fair for these kids in this great state that have been playing each other on a high school level. And I've got so many buddies over there. We finally get to. I mean, there was so much trash talking for nothing.
Oh, yeah.
You just sit there and talk for nothing and complain for nothing. And now we get to tee it up every year.
What's better than that?
I mean, golly.
It is the best. Of course, we're biased because we grew up in Texas, but like
it's settled.
There's no rivalry like Texas A&M. We are the football state. We are, and now you got the two schools. There's been so much bad blood between them over the last decade with the SEC. Tee it up.
Yeah, and one thing I will say, and Longhorns would say the same thing, we make each other better at the end of the day.
100%.
We need each other as much as we may not want each other. We need each other. I think we compete at a higher level. Both teams.
You guys make this show better.
Hey, thanks.
How about that? That was true. That's from the heart, though. That's not just a line. That's deep. I need you guys to be successful. Stephen McGee, Ryan Swope. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it. All right. We'll hit a break. We'll come back with an open segment, chit-chat a little bit about all the things happening. It's TexAgs Radio. Wow, I haven't heard this song on this show ever. Nick, you adding songs to the playlist? No, David.
I did not. No, I haven't touched it. This is Sean freestyling, and he usually does a really good job at that.
Sean does a great job. It is TexAgs Radio. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers here in the Rollo Insurance Studio. So we'll do a quick short segment here. We'll get to some text messages in a moment and then get to AT. But if we're to believe Bobby Petrino yesterday, and I see no reason not to believe him, Jimbo Fisher is your basic backseat driver, guys. That's really what it boils down to. And that's ultimately not the main reason for his downfall at Texas A&M, but certainly a contributor to it. In this scenario, he might be a backseat driver in an Uber, right? The guy's taking a route. You're trying to tell him exactly which way to go. He's like, dude, I got my maps going. We're good. Bobby Petrino had an offense, or like maybe even a chef, right? Like you take, you want to make the gumbo a certain way, and if Bobby Flay's doing your gumbo, and you tell him how to do things. That's just not the way it should be. Bobby Petrino said he had to learn the Jimbo Fisher terminology, the language. And now, to be fair, I don't know what is commonplace in college football, right? Like, I don't know, like, is it easier for the OC to kind of merge his language with the head coaches, or take the head coaches and, teach that offense, because you've got a bunch of players, 18 to 22-year-olds, are going to have to learn the new offense? I don't know what's commonplace. I don't know. I do know when you hire somebody to do a job, it is better to let them do the job that you hired them to do, as opposed to, yeah, but. Like, if you're going to hire, who's a big-time actor? Leanna, give me a big-time actor.
Ryan Reynolds.
Ryan Reynolds, all right? He's not the greatest actress, but I love Ryan Reynolds, Deadpool. But let's say you hired Ryan Reynolds to do a movie. Do you then tell him right before he gets to the movie, but you need to do it in French? Huh? You got to do it in French. Sorry, you got to do it in French. I know that you're more comfortable, but we want you to do this kind of movie in French. But it's an American movie. You got to do it in French. You don't do that. I don't think you do. If Bobby Flay wants to make a gumbo, and he wants to put shrimp in the gumbo, you let him put shrimp in the gumbo. You don't tell him, no, we're going to change up the way we do it. We're going to do it like this. You've got to allow your employees to do what they're brought on to do under your prism. Whatever walk of life you guys work in, right? I worked in media. I take the cues from the boss, right? But the boss typically lets me do my thing if I do it at a high level, right? Billy wants me to do a show a certain way. Okay, I'll do it a certain way. But he doesn't mess with my creative process. I do my creative process my way. Same thing was at ABC 13. Same thing was at the Dallas Mavericks. Like, all these jobs that I've had, I was brought on to do it a certain way. If I'm told how to write my script, like you're told how to do the X's and O's, but why'd you bring me in? So my creative process is my creative process. Bobby Petrino's style of offense is his style of offense. You got to do it under the umbrella of what the team wants to accomplish. But again, in that scenario, after the offense has struggled for so long, obviously Jimbo's inability to adapt, change, really hurt his success here in the last few years at Texas A&M. You bring in an OC to do his thing. But I feel, and I was told this was going to happen, and I didn't believe it. And again, it depends what you believe. I like Jimbo, I do. But it was a just for show thing to make people believe that you're doing something just to make them believe. If he coaches again, it'll have to be different, right? And I think he will coach again one day. But that's to segue into where we are now. That's why I'm super intrigued. Because Coach Elko is, he's going to be the brains behind the defense, right? Probably going to bring in an offensive-minded offensive coordinator and let them do their work with this talent and not get in the way. Don't be a backstreet driver with the offense that had been struggling. It'd be another thing. It's offense, and like you have an OC. Like, no, but it wasn't working. That's why you brought in the help. You bring in a personal trainer to help you because you can't get stronger, and every time let's do this extra. That's not how it's supposed to work. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Let's get a text message or two from Leanna Davison.
Yeah, did you want to touch a little bit on the men's basketball at all, David?
We could touch on it.
Okay, so as you guys the team unfortunately recorded a loss against Virginia last night, going 47-59. Yep. While the team managed to struggle without the presence of Tyrese Radford, Boots, Henry Coleman still managed to excel, going 8 from 14 from the floor and scoring 16 points while also grabbing 14 rebounds. The rest of the team unfortunately struggled shooting-wise, going 30%, 17 from 56 from the floor and 17.4%, 4 from 23 from 3, along with 16 turnovers. But the Aggies' next game is December 6th at Reed Arena, where they'll be playing the DePaul teams. Hopefully, kind of come back a little bit there.
Tough stretch coming up. DePaul will be easy. Well, not easy. DePaul, whatever. Yeah, it'll be easy. But
they are 1-5, so they should be.
But then you've got, I ummed it, sorry. You go from DePaul to Memphis to Houston. This is a tough stretch coming up. You've got to figure out your shooting. You've got to figure out your turnovers. You got to get healthy. Those are a lot of things that have to happen. Look, this is a very good team, and they're going to have some bumps on the road, but I'm a little concerned with some of the shooting woes we've seen. I'm a little concerned with the rebounds. Not the rebounds, excuse me, with the turnovers. Here's a soundbite from Buzz Williams, and I'll read it out loud because I know we don't have it queued up. But if you give them 16 turnovers in a 59-possession game, it's just really hard to overcome mathematically. 100% correct. You've got to protect the ball. When A&M's playing their best basketball, they protect the ball, and they get rebounds, and they don't shoot as poorly. And that's any team, right? But they didn't shoot well. They did have turnovers. You've got one guy who's been very consistent, and you've had a lot of inconsistency. So fix that. But again, they've played so much on the road and so many games over the last week. Tired legs become a thing, mental draining, all that stuff adds up. Get a little bit of a break, then you get DePaul, and then you got to go back and do some work. All right, let's hit a break here. When we come back on TexAgs Radio, we will talk to Aaron Torres of Fox Sports Radio. He was at the Arkansas Duke game last night. How about that? We'll talk to him about that. Right now, we're talking Caldwell Country Chevrolet, Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. If you're looking for a vehicle, you should look at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Maybe start on the website, caldwellcountrychevrolet.com, so you can see the cars that they have on the lot. And they change them all the time because they're constantly, buying vehicles, bringing new ones, you name it, right? That's what they do at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. But you go on the website and you see what they have. And then you're like, you know what? I'm making that drive. I'm making that 15-minute commute out there, right? And you go there, depending on where you're at, edge of Bryan, edge of Caldwell, But you go there and you see the cars. You get the great customer service experience. You find out that they're not going to try to sell you everything. They're going to give you what you want. They're going to help you make the right choice for your family at the right price, with the right trade-in, and the best customer service around, with complimentary pickup for their service customers. All those reasons are reasons to shop at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Again, 15-minute drive, edge of Bryan, edge of Caldwell. Short conversation away, but you'll see the difference when you step on the lot and do business with the good people at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. Sean, doing a great job today, buddy. The music is banging. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. We may not get Aaron Torres. He may be traveling back from Arkansas. I know that he went to the game last night versus Duke, and we haven't heard back from him. So all good, all good. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center, where Leanna Davison can continue to read some text messages as we pivot from that interview.
Yeah,
Leanna?
so Matt Tackle in the YouTube chat says, here's a fun stat. When RC came to A&M, he inherited a team that finished 7-5 the previous year. So does Elko, both defensive coaches. Maybe the stars are aligning.
Maybe. That is what we do in sports, right? We look at parallels where like, hey, this happened, this can happen. Hey, look at this. The last time A&M did this, all these things happen. And I agree. I'm exactly like you guys, where I look for reasons to believe. And it's also, sometimes I poke holes in things because that's what we do as fans. I really believe with the right choices, this is a 10-win team. There's a lot of questions still on what the roster is going to look like. Obviously, who the assistant coaches are going to be. But as things stand today, if we had to say, all right, Coach Mike Elko, you recoach 2023, your staff, how do things change? My biggest issue for 2 seasons, and that's why I had reservations heading into the 2023 season, was if you can't block, you can't win. I feel like Johnny Cochran. But you can't block, you can't win. And I'm not putting that all on the offensive line. Those guys are talented young men, highly ranked. I don't think they were coached or developed in the right way. And it's not just the offensive line. But if you can't block, your quarterback goes down. It's that simple. If your quarterback goes down, your backup may be really good, but he is your backup. And all the reps getting ready went to your starter. And then if your backup gets hurt, like we've seen for 2 straight years, technically you could say 3, but for 2 straight years, then you lose. So that is why, it's so frustrating that that part of A&M's attack was not fixed. That is sometimes my biggest beef. My absolute biggest beef. No doubt about that. So, look, at the end of the day, you just gotta block better, guys. With the talent that you have here, give us a chance. They did score more points this year. They were a better offense. They were not good in a couple of games. Their defense did struggle. So there are other areas, right? That defense, the back end struggled. Receivers had career days. Jaden Daniels did what he does in the fourth quarter. Those are all part of the storyline. There isn't just one thing. But if I ask you all, in fact, I'll ask you all, what are 3 things that need to be different this year? You can text the show. Nick, you can give me an idea if you want. 979-693-1150. 3 things you want to see different next year. My number one, for if we're using this team as my building block, right, is fix the blocking all around, everywhere. Number 1 is blocking. Number 2, special teams coordinator or special teams emphasis, okay? Whatever you want to call it. You give me some blocking, an emphasis on special teams being special, and I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean being specially good, right? You do those 2 things, and you fix the back end of the defense. That's a lot of things to fix, by the way. These are not hopefully they're overnight, but they're not necessarily overnight things. You give me those 3 things, we good. There's other areas that, obviously will pop up, but those are if I'm talking about 3 major areas of concern that I want to see changed in 2024, those would be my 3. Nick, do you have 3?
Yeah, I was going to kind of...
You can be the same.
Yeah, I mean, obviously one of the biggest things would be to fix the back end of the defense, like you mentioned. That would probably be 1. 2, I guess it ties into blocking. You gotta keep Connor in there for all 12 games. I'm getting harassed back here, by the way.
Oh, look who it is. Ricardo Zane.
Ricardo Zane. But yeah, gotta keep Connor in all 12 games. You got to keep him healthy, and that goes back to what you just said about blocking. I feel like it all ties in as one, and I guess we win the transfer portal going into next year. Have quality guys come in, keep your guys here that need to stay here in order to stay competitive. So that's what I would say.
Here's one: don't be slow. Don't be stubborn and slow, right? And I'm not talking about players. I'm just talking about as a program. Don't wait a long time, drag it out to hire your assistants. Don't be slow to change when it comes to the transfer portal. Let's be honest, the last couple of years, A&M has been behind the game when it comes to the transfer portal. You got a big one in Max, but there hasn't. Other programs I think are using it a little bit more than A&M, and I haven't looked at the numbers. Alabama's done this, Georgia's done this, but
trying to follow anything transfer portal related, by the way, is ridiculous. I mean, it feels like 50 players enter in every minute.
Well, let's go back to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center because I'm seeing some people on the YouTube page.
We also have
comment. Go ahead.
Sutton in College Station who says
Sutton.
His 3 things are run blocking, pass blocking, and the development of the O-line.
So his is all about the O-line,
Mhm.
which almost feels like what I said. I think it's deep, and I know Sutton does too. It's deeper than the O-line, but just if I use one word, blocking, right? Like if you just block better, I'm gonna bro everybody, bro. If A&M blocks better, they're a 10-win team this year. Ya acabó el juego. It's over. If they block better, they win these games. Not every game, but okay, Miami, I don't know if blocking was an issue. I take that back. The offense scored enough points to win, but blocking was an issue. Connor Wegman was under duress the entire game. Didn't get sacked, but he had people in his face all the time. Blocking, I believe, if I remember the stats correctly, Max Johnson was sacked more than Jalen Milroe in that game. I might be wrong on that stat, but I think I'm right about that. But the offensive line was an issue on several plays. A 4th and 1 comes to mind, and maybe the play call wasn't great. So blocking, those are 2 games that I think if you have some blocking, might change the outcome, right? What else? Ole Miss was blocking, and I think Ole Miss, the blocking was adequate. Tennessee, there were some issues at Tennessee. No doubt, right? So you block better. Not only do you save your quarterback, but you're better. You're just better. You win some of those games, guys. What else do we have, Leanna?
We have an offense that gets our wide receivers open in space, second half adjustments, an O-line that is just flat out nasty. We have the Aggies to quit trying to figure out of all the old coaches and players that played at A&M that should be coaching at A&M again.
Yeah.
We have, a fair few people commenting in the YouTube chat. So we also have O-line performance, defensive back play, and special teams. A lot of people are commenting on special teams as well, David.
All right, let's do this. Let's hit a break. John Harris, who we didn't get on yesterday because we had Ross Bjork. What do you call it? He's just texted me. He's going to join us for about 5 minutes in the next segment. Just get his thoughts. We do want to get Johnny on the program. Let's do that when we come back. So folks at Bryan Broadcasting, let's call up John Harris. Brazos Running Company, located at Century Square. It's a place I get my running shoes. My boys are cross-country runners. They get their running shoes there all the time. Locally owned, Aggie-owned and operated, specialty running store with an outstanding selection of running gear and shoes, including the great brands like Brooks, On, and Hoka. So if you're a runner and you're into fitness in any way, shape, or form, the right shoe makes all the difference in the world. At Brazos Running Company, they're passionate about running and about finding the right shoe. They've got great other brands, too. You can get Birkenstock there. You can get Viore, which is one of the hottest brands out there. Billy loves it. He wears it all the time. Remember, it's not too early to check off that holiday shopping. Go to Brazos Running Company, located in Century Square below the Star Cinema Grill in College Station. Hey, we got to do this. Let's get to the Brian Foley Law Hotline. John Harris was supposed to join us on Wednesday, but Ross Bjork came in the studio. So Johnny's like, hey, I want to talk a little Elko when you get a break. So we got a break. So we go to the hotline, and there is John Harris. Johnny, what's up, buddy?
What's going on, David? Yeah, I mean, I guess if I'm going to get supplanted and moved for somebody, Ross Bjork is probably a good one to have to step aside for. So, yeah. I jump in anytime. You can call me anytime during the week and just say, hey, you want to talk? I'd be like, yeah, probably. Let's go.
Well, I thought about that when that last segment opened up. I'm like, I'd like to have Johnny to have some time. We break here in about 6 minutes. So what do you think about the hire, man? Give me your thoughts on Mike Elko being the head coach.
Well, you know this because I texted you, Sunday morning. I was sitting in the press box at Paycor Stadium in Cincinnati, and I was sitting there with Andre Ware and Robert Hensley, and I picked up my phone and I said, so it's Elko, right? And you're like, well, he'll be in it. And I'm like, well, no, when does Elko say yes? And you're like, well, no, he'll be a name. I was like, okay, but just let me know when Elko says yes, and then we'll talk. Because I was pretty sure, for whatever reason, I just felt like Mike Elko was going to end up being the guy. Well, obviously, having been defensive coordinator there, that's happened before with the great R.C. Slocum. Now, obviously, R.C. just went from defensive coordinator to head coach. But, you can kind of see that path of following that path. Mike Elko is obviously a very good recruiter. He's got a number of players from New Jersey on the roster, which obviously he's from New Jersey, so he knows the area, all that kind of stuff. And he'd proven at Duke that he could win football games with whatever he was handed. So it's like a Food Network TV show called Chopped, and they open a basket, and it's like you got 5 things, and you got to make a meal out of it. Well, he went to Duke, looked in the basket, and went, all right, well, this is what I got, and turned them into really a program that was playing big-time football, nighttime football, game day is there type football before his quarterback Riley Leonard ended up getting hurt, and that kind of the season dovetailed at that point. But I think Elko had already proven that he was that guy. So I had thought it was Elko. Now here's the thing about Mark Stoops, and when I saw the Stoops hire, I was like, yeah, I like it. I like Mark Stoops as a football coach. I can't speak to all the other stuff, how's he as a recruiter, and I don't know. But I know Mark Stoops is one heck of a football coach. So I feel like Mark Stoops or Mike Elko, either one, going to be a really big hire and a really good hire, I felt like. But it just felt like Elko kind of tugged at some of the heartstrings of, the decision makers there on campus, and Mike Elko is now the head coach at Texas A&M. I just said on my YouTube show, I'm going to post it here in a little while, I thought it was A- hire. I think Stoops would have been similar. I would have felt really good about either one of them taking over A&M. And so I feel good about what Mike Elko is going to bring. Now, obviously, the proof is in the pudding. I felt good. I felt good about what Kevin Sumlin was going to do. I'll be brutally honest, David. I kind of felt like Jimbo the last couple of years at Florida State sort of mailed it in, so I wasn't sure how that was going to go. And I'd had a couple of years early on, honestly, where it went pretty well, and then you could just tell it was kind of a mess the last couple of years for a number of reasons. So Mike Elko comes in there, clean a slate, get the right guys that he wants in the positions that he needs to. I think keeping Elijah on the staff is going to be a big one, and then you go from there. But I think the biggest thing now is with Elko, does recruiting stay at the same pace, and can he keep a lot of the guys from the junior class that he ended up being a part of recruiting a couple years ago? If he can keep this team together, I think it's got an opportunity of doing some really good things in year one with Mike Elko.
Yeah, no doubt about that. A name that came up on the show today that I'm sure you don't want to see leave the Texans is Gerard Johnson. He's going to be an OC in the next year or two somewhere. The Texans, another NFL team, maybe even the Aggies. Just can you speak a little bit to that about Gerard Johnson, the riser that he is, and why he would be a name A&M could think about?
I will rubber stamp that all day long. 100% A+ hire if A&M did it. I would love it. I think for Gerard, I love Gerard. And I know Aggies love Gerard too. I know C.J. Stroud loves Gerard. Gerard, how do I put this in words? He's interesting because he he's got such a presence. But, man, he is going to call you on your BS. And I feel like C.J. Stroud's success, yes, Bobby Slocum has done a great job. There's no doubt as offensive coordinator, and you got to have that great relationship. But Gerard is not going to take any BS, and yet he can get the best out of these guys and he's gotten the most out of C.J. Stroud. I think Gerard Johnson moving on to the Aggies, and I would assume an offensive coordinator role, would be a home freaking run. I would be all about it because I love that man. I love Gerard. I think it would make a lot of sense to the Aggies. Now, you know, at that point when obviously you go back to college, you got to do the recruiting thing and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And I don't know how Gerard feels about that part because he's only coached in the NFL. But I do know when Gerard Johnson sits down with the parents and sits down with a player, as you know, in recruiting, they're going to be 100% sold. Absolutely. Yeah, I would hate it. I would absolutely hate it. But Gerard Johnson to the Aggies, I would be all about it.
Johnny, we got about a minute left. What's going to happen this championship weekend in college football?
I don't want to say it's all chalk. I do think there'll be one upset. I think Oregon beats Washington, so Oregon's in. I think Florida State's going to win, and that's going to cause a lot of consternation. I think Texas is going to house Oklahoma State, and that's now going to be the decisions between Texas and Florida State. And that's going to be a tough one for the committee.
Good stuff, Johnny, man. Thanks for jumping on here on short notice. I appreciate you, bro.
Love you, man. See you, bud.
Later. John Harris on the program. Family. Familia here on TexAgs Radio. All right, when we come back, another member of the family, Logan Lee. It's been a minute, Logan. We got to talk some Aggie basketball. Yeah, we're going to do that. And after that, the reduced version of the fan show, Gerard Construction, Louis Bellina smiling, Billy smiling because, yeah, it's shorter, but it's still really good info, I think. All that and more here over the next hour on TexAgs Radio. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. My dear friend, my buddy, and a longtime TexAgs employee, contributor, boss, you name it, Logan Lee in studio. What's up, bud?
Why do I feel weird right now?
It's like you moved out, but you came to the new people's house.
Yeah.
You're in their house.
Yeah.
And you're like, wait, that's not how I did things.
I think as we go along right now, I'll probably relax a little.
You are. Well,
maybe in the next 30 seconds because I feel good now.
I heard you holding court out there. You guys
no,
were
that was McGee.
Was that McGee?
That's McGee and Bronny. Bronny's out there trying to do his thing, just sit on the chair and watch.
One of the reasons, we always say we need to get together beyond like work hours to hang out, and one of the reasons is because you're a nerd just like I am. Tell the people what we just did a minute ago.
I don't want to tell anybody that.
No, they got to know.
Why?
Because we're nerds.
No, you're a nerd. I'm a businessman. You're a nerd.
You just bragged that you looked at your Oura Ring scores.
Yeah,
every day.
I do because I'm a businessman. We're starting to sell these and promote these at Restore.
Yeah.
To track all of your logistics,
right?
To then tell people what they need as a recovery tool in our facility.
That is so brilliant.
So this is business. That is.
I'm not wearing it. So well, I'll explain to you after the show why I'm not wearing it during the day. But like we're comparing, and
no, don't tell people my sleep score. That's horrible.
You want to tell people what my score was?
Yeah, it was fantastic.
It was okay. I don't think a B is like in my family, Logan. B's are like that's what we expect A's. Okay, and I got an 89.
Okay, so I got a 69.
That is a failure. How many hours were you in bed?
5 hours and 11 minutes last night.
And how many were you reading? Were you watching a movie? Because I know you didn't sleep for that long. How long did you sleep?
I slept for 4 hours and 46 minutes.
Oh, okay. So it took you 20. Your latency was 20 minutes.
Well, not really. Because I was really tired. My latency was 9 minutes.
Okay, that's fine.
Took me 9 minutes to go to sleep, but then my daughter woke me up, and so I was awake for a little bit right there, and then it took me about 5 minutes to get out of bed this morning. So, see, I just need a little more sleep.
Okay,
I really don't. I mean, I'm awake and I'm going. I'm good.
And I fall asleep at 3 o'clock every day. If I could, I would take an hour nap if I was allowed. But I'm
not. I love naps though. I would take a nap.
Yeah, they're great.
I don't necessarily need it, but I would take a nap.
No, I need it. All right, should we talk some basketball?
Do we want to right now?
What? Yesterday was not fun.
I wanted to. I was excited to come on today last week.
Right. After the Penn State game.
Yeah. After everything.
Right.
I mean, but yesterday wasn't fun.
So I want to take this a couple different directions because I think we've seen some early trends this year that I don't like. But let's talk about yesterday specifically, Virginia. Was it a game plan? Was it just an off night? What do you think about last night?
I think it was a mix of, unfortunately, not having Radford. Mm-hmm. He changes the team. Obviously, he changes the team. He's the most veteran player on this team. He's known Buzz for a decade now and been a part of the system forever. He changes his team and he helps everybody, in particular Wade Taylor, who needs help right now.
Yep.
But outside of some of the unexplainable turnovers that A&M had, like Virginia is, man, their defense is good. But what really surprised, everybody knows their defense is good. They play that pack line defense, and they've always been a defensive team. However, what I was impressed with was their offense.
Yeah.
Virginia knew every rotation that A&M had. They knew they're getting forced baseline. They didn't even try to drive the middle. They knew they were getting forced baseline. But when they got forced baseline, they knew everybody was rotating. They knew all the rotations, and it was a skip pass to the right player every single time. Right. And even if A&M recovered, they were moving the ball so quickly that A&M, the second person couldn't recover. The third player couldn't recover. And they just kept passing the ball until they got a very good shot. That is the sign of an experienced, good team. They may not have a number in front of their name right now, but they will at the end of the year. They're a good basketball team. Just like I think Iowa State, depending on how they go through the Big 12, they may have a number in front of their name. I don't know. I think they're a fringe top 25 team. but they're good, and they've been through the battles of the Big 12. I think what A&M has done, starting with Penn State, losing to FAU, beating Iowa State, now having to play Virginia, and if you look ahead, DePaul, Memphis, Houston, this is the schedule. If they can win 2 of the next 3 games, which is going to be tough, that's going to be very tough. But if they can
DePaul and who?
I mean, if they can get 1 of Memphis or Houston, that'd be fantastic. If they can get Houston, look out.
Right.
Things are coming down, and we're going to have a parade just in the middle of the season. If they can get 1 of those 2, though, A&M will be prepared for anything that they meet in March Madness.
Okay.
And that's the positive about this schedule. Now, they may lose 2 out of the next 3, and you're going to have some people saying, what in the world's going on? They may drop in the rankings or whatever, but it's still preparing them. This is still a good schedule to prepare them for where they need to be. Because if they handle business in conference, which I think they will, they're going to be a high seed in the tournament. And all of these non-conference games are just prepping them for a longer run in March and April.
So are you concerned with some of the trends we have seen? And some of these trends I've seen in even the wins. And wins kind of mask, but there has been some poor shooting, which has plagued this team at times.
Absolutely.
There's been turnovers, which will cause any team to lose games. And when teams beat them, they hit 3-point shots. If there's one thing about their defense that sometimes, and I say sometimes, struggles, is 3-point defense. We saw it yesterday. We saw it against Penn State in the NCAA tournament. Different-ish team, but you catch my drift.
I am worried about 3-point shooting teams. They do make me nervous just because that's how this defense is built. Give up the shot, but don't give up a layup. Don't give up a drive. I would have thought by now, excuse me, that Wade Taylor wouldn't be pressing as much as he is, and maybe it's because Boots is out.
Yep.
Henry's been playing like a beast. I mean, he's been doing his thing. Marble isn't playing. He's got 2 transfer guys that are learning. I think they'll be really good, but they're still not as good as what they need to be right now. So maybe he feels like he's got to do more than what he should be doing. You combine that with every single defense, he's their number 1 and number 2 on the scouting report. Like, it's not Wade Taylor and then Tyrese Radford. It's Wade Taylor and then it's Wade Taylor and then it's
stop
Tyrese
Wade
Radford,
Taylor, you
and
stop
then
A&M.
and then it's a tie between Radford and Coleman, and
Right.
then everybody, so on and so forth from there. So he's got to figure that out. But what I actually thought his game was a little more controlled yesterday than it has been in the past. I thought he's been out of control, and he's taken some wild shots, and he still took some wild shots. You know, he had a handful of air balls. Virginia's defense is really good, and he was just trying to fire something up and make something happen.
Right.
But throughout the course of the game, I thought he actually did a good job of penetrating and kicking it out to Hefner, or kicking it out to Jace Carter, or getting it to Eli. Like, I thought he did a decent job of that for the majority of the game, just not the entirety. And when A&M scores 47 points in a loss, it just magnifies everything.
Well, is it maybe there's unfair expectations for him because he had that stretch at SEC play last year that I think changed the way we look at him.
For sure.
Right? But if
For
you look
sure.
at before that and after, he's an excellent player. But that stretch right there is how we remember him and how we compare him to. And he got all the SEC honors and this and that. And by the way, outside of yesterday, in crunch time, he has turned it on for this team this year.
For sure. But that's the thing. When you see that stretch, he maintained that stretch for what, 10 games?
At least, yeah.
Like, that is his capabilities. And so that's the expectation.
It's not one game. It's
it's not like you're just like, oh, wow, man, he had 3 good games. No, he had half a season worth of good games, and it just came natural to him.
But I think at that point is where the transition happened from we need to stop Boots to we need to stop Wade. And that's where it goes back to your point, not having Boots out there. His Robin in this equation, right, makes such a difference.
Absolutely. And, I thought he struggled yesterday because they never ran anything in particular for him. And part of that is they don't have another point guard. Bryce Lindsey is going to be good, but he's not ready yet. He's a freshman, and his head is swirling right now. He's trying to pick everything up, and he is who he is. Next year, he'll be really good. His junior season, he's going to be excellent. Right? He's going to be one of the top guards in the conference.
And by the way, let me say something about that. He is actually in a better spot, but he's not forced to be great yet because when Wade was a freshman, he was forced to be great.
Absolutely. But Manny at the point guard is not sufficient. I mean, I think we've seen enough of that to know that if you have Manny at the point, you're going to struggle. There may be some good times, but it's going to be a struggle in consistency and in the long haul. And to not have a Boots on the floor to take the ball out of Wade's hands and maybe run him off some baseline screens and get him open. Like, he wasn't able to do that. Every time that he took a shot, I don't want to say every time, 90% of the time that he took a shot, he had to create his own spacing.
Right.
And that's hard when you have 1, 2, 3 sets of eyeballs watching you the entire play. So it's unfortunate, but at the same time, you have to deal with what you have, and he's got to find a way, and Buzz has to find a way for Wade to get off the ball and get some open shots.
Let's talk a little more on Henry, because I feel like his first year at A&M, really good. Last year, it was good, and at times I wanted more. At times, but it was helped because Julius Marble was the other guy that he's in there for, and Julius was really good. This year, there is no Marble right now. Henry's been fantastic. The growth has been ridiculous.
I think Henry's growth is what I wanted last season. So last season, I remember talking about how early in the season, how in the off season, he didn't work on any back to the basket moves. He worked on his ball handling and being more of a stretch four, maybe playing from the high post, a couple of dribbles, getting to the basket, using his quickness, because he's not a 7-footer. He's not a 6'10" guy.
Yep.
I thought last year, going into last season, in the off season, he had worked on more of his guard play, which is better for his career long run, but not necessarily great for A&M last season. Well, he's continued to do that, and now he has found he has a good skill set. He is more productive when you get him in the high post and you allow him to face up and take his man 2 dribbles to the basket, or a ball screen, get him moving towards the basket. He's not great with his back to the basket, which he doesn't need to be in his career. A&M doesn't have a back to the basket player with Marble out, so it kind of hurts them right now. But he has found his role. And if he can average a double-double, if he can maintain 14 and 10 a night, that's all A&M needs. A&M now needs other players to step up to go along with it.
Right. Yeah. Let's for where they are in this early part of the year, tired legs, mental exhaustion. I mean, they played a lot of games over the last week. They've played a lot of games on the road. You've been a player. Your business is based on like helping people feel better, right? Like, so talk to me a little bit about that. Like, that also should not be minimized when talking about where this team is right now.
No, definitely not. Excuse me. Excuse me. Their travel schedule has been ridiculous. You have 3 games in 4 days in Orlando. You come back for 36 hours, and then you have a practice and you leave again.
Right.
And it's a long trip. I mean, that's not a short trip up to Virginia. That's a good trip that you have to take. There is going to be some fatigue involved, especially when you have some injured players and you're playing more minutes and you're playing off position. Like, there's going to be some physical and some mental fatigue. But that's part of it.
Yeah.
I obviously that plays a factor in it, but at the end of the day, that's part of it.
You're still hooping.
You're playing basketball. I mean, we had guys who and they still do it. The guys on this team, you work out, you play all day long or you practice all day long, and then to go have fun, you go to the rec and get some shots up.
Right.
Just to get out of the gym with the coaches and to be structured and just to go have fun and relax, you go play basketball. Like, so they're used to playing it all the time, no matter what it is.
But the travel component's got to play a role, though, right?
The travel is hard, but they fly a charter. You don't go through security, TSA. You get on the tarmac, you walk on the plane, you sit down, you get a warm cookie while you're flying in the air, and then you land,
delicious.
you get on a bus, you go to the hotel, you do a walkthrough. Like, you're used to it now.
When's the last time you had a cookie?
Like this morning.
You did not have a cookie this morning.
No, not this morning.
No, come on.
I mean, last night I did have a cookie though.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't eat well. I'm not like you. I don't know if you're still measuring out your protein and
yeah. That's what I do. Yeah. I'm trying to win a swimsuit contest.
Well,
yeah.
Okay.
Can we talk Solo? Since we talked Henry, I feel like Solo's growth is one that I think we need to also kind of hit on.
I like Solo. His energy and, his first basket last night, he scored. And I don't even think he's talking trash to the other team. The ref stops the game.
Calms him down.
Hey,
he just plays with that energy.
Hey, we don't need that right now. Blah, blah. I guarantee you Solo was thinking, man, I'm good. I was talking to myself. Like, I'm pumping myself up. I'm good. I got you. I understand what you're saying. It won't happen again, so on and so forth. And it didn't. He controlled it. But I just like the way he comes in and he can pump himself up. And then he can pump his teammates up.
Yep.
And you let him do anything above the rim, and all of a sudden he's pumping up the crowd. Like, he has that capability. I love his energy. I love his enthusiasm for the game, for life. He's a good kid that is going to make a lot of impact plays on this team. I will say this. I was very surprised with his, I don't even know what it was, a crossover, tried to go between the legs, had a step back three.
Yes.
That caught me a little off guard.
Yeah. I don't think of him in three-point shots, or
that's not his repertoire. I don't think, not just yet. Maybe he can work on that and grow that. But
he was 3 or 4 that game.
I'm okay with him having his feet set, catching the ball, shooting an open three. I think he can make those more times than he's going to miss them. I don't know about that step back three last night though.
Well, that one worked. Hey, because there's a new football coach, I want to ask you a football/basketball question.
Okay.
There's been talk about getting the right guys for football, right? The guys that fit your culture, your brand, what A&M is about, right? And maybe sometimes looking at stars more than fit. That's not the way. Well, Buzz will certainly recruit to his style. Whatever you want to say about the basketball program, he's going to get his kind of players to play his brand of basketball. Just take that.
Every single time. I think Buzz is very honest when it comes to, I want the best player for our team. I don't care what he looks like. I don't care if he's 7'2". I don't care if he's 5'2". I want the best player for our team. Mm-hmm. What fits our team and what do we need? That's who I want. It doesn't matter if he's a 5-star, if he's a no-star. It doesn't matter if he comes from a big city or a small town, whatever it is. He just wants the best fit for this team and this program. And I think he's grown it in a natural way. He struggled. Obviously not the first year he was here, but the second year with COVID and then the third year. So he's had some struggles. But if you look at where they go on his team, look at Marquette, look at Virginia Tech. The 5th year was kind of the magic number.
Right.
It's 5th year now, and he's got a good team under his belt, and they're gonna make some noise. I'm really excited where this program is now.
And by the way, is it fair to say you're not always like, if you don't think they're going to be good, you say it. Like you really believe it.
Yeah, no. I thought they were going to struggle 2 years ago. Last year, I thought they were a Sweet 16 team. Maybe not in the very beginning. In the very beginning, I think we talked about there's a potential for them to be a Sweet 16 team. I don't know if they're going to reach that potential, but it's in there. And I thought they were a Sweet 16 team, and they ran into a buzzsaw in Penn State and that whole debacle. But this year, I think with what they have, they're a second weekend team maybe a second game on the second weekend.
Elite Eight.
Maybe.
If things play right, like matchups matter and their main players being there.
Yeah, and I think that's that may be a little bit of a stretch. I may have some hopefulness in there, but it's not out of the question. If we're talking about realistically, where do we think they are? I think they're a second game, maybe a second weekend team, a Sweet 16 team right now. Just because they that's obviously if they stay healthy.
Yeah.
And, you know, if something that I'm not counting on right now, but if Marble comes back and is able to find a spot and a flow and a rhythm on this team, he makes them immensely better.
He does.
I don't know what's going on with that, and I don't even know how he gets into a rhythm. I mean, being this far removed, but kind of is what it is.
Logan, thank you, buddy.
Yeah.
Next week?
Absolutely.
Let's do it. All right.
Hopefully we're talking about some wins.
Yeah, you got it. That's Logan Lee here on TexAgs Radio. When we come back, open segment, then the fan show, that and more. It's TexAgs. TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. The great Logan Lee just walking out of studio. Had a great time chatting some hoops here. I see almost 300 people watching the show on YouTube, and we're a couple of likes away from 100, guys. Help a brother out. Come on. Like it. Subscribe. Get us to 13,000 subscribers and over 100 likes. I know many of you are listening on the radio like, why? It helps. It just helps the brand. And if you like this show, help the brand. Just help. Have your grandma subscribe if she's got a YouTube account. If she doesn't, make her one. Subscribe for us. We go back to the Angry Elephant News, and man, that was an aggressive hitting of the button.
I'm so sorry.
You were like,
I was just ready to get into it.
What do you want to get into?
I have some swimming updates from Tuesday Arvo. The women's swimming team beat the hell out of Rice University this past Tuesday Arvo, recording a massive win of 171-91. The team won 11 out of the 14 of events, with Miranda Grana winning the 100 and 200 backstroke and the 200 medley relay. Olivia Thiel was also part of the winning 200 medley relay team and also recorded wins in the 100 and 200 butterfly. There's some awesome results in the swim. I think they're ranked 11th now, is it, in the nation? So they're doing amazing as well.
Yeah. I went, I think like 3 weeks ago when Texas was here. It was fun to be there. It was good times. What else do you have for us?
We have some text messages. So what do you think Evan Stewart needs to see, or who do we need to hire for him to stay at A&M, or is he far too gone, KJ? There are a couple of people asking about Evan Stewart.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have a take on that at all, David.
Couple things I want to say. Evan Stewart's awesome. Great player when he's healthy and he's out there. If he is having second thoughts about leaving Texas A&M, you know what I'm saying? Like, I want you to stay if you want to be here. If you want to be here, I think you're going to have a great – I saw somebody post his numbers with Connor Wigman. Like, they've only played like 2 or 3 games together, and those numbers are sick. So I want you to play with Connor here at Texas A&M. But if you don't want to be at Texas A&M, bye. I want people who want to be here. If I have my choice, yeah, I want high star guys. I get it. You win championships with 5 stars and 4 stars. Yes, I want it. And he is a dynamic playmaker, and if he decides to stay at Texas A&M, I'm going to be happy for it. But if you don't want to be here, go. Like, the thing I'm holding out hope for is, like, he hasn't entered the portal yet, and maybe he's waiting to hear what they do offensively. I don't know if Coach Elko's had talks with him or not. I assume he's reaching out to all the guys. I know he's reaching out to all the guys, and I hope that he's on his list. And, hey, this is my plan for you. This is what I want to see for you. But if you don't want to be here, Ja'Day Walker wants to be here, right? There's some wide receivers that we're courting out there that are committed elsewhere. Maybe they want to be here. So I want people who want to be here to be here. And if you don't want to be here for what is going to happen, because it is going to change, don't listen to the outside noise. A&M, this is who you are. Whatever. Okay? Who you've been doesn't mean who you have to be. And that goes for any walk of life. Like, you can be homeless. Like, go get a job. Like, there are things that can happen. I didn't mean it disrespectfully to the homeless community. I'm just saying, like, it doesn't have to be like the past, right? We can strive for better. We can strive for more. So if you don't want to be a part of this, the university that you picked, remember, it's not just the head coach you're picking. When you choose to be an Aggie, it is a lifelong decision, in my opinion, that you'll go with, and it is more than, yes, the experience on the field matters. Of course it does. But look at the folks that we have on TexAgs radio regularly. They are Aggies, right? Thick and thin. They take care of Aggies, the Aggie Network. So if you picked A&M as a 17-year-old, and now you're almost 20, 21, and you're having second thoughts, you picked A&M because it's an amazing university that takes care of its people, and football's changing. There's a new direction there, and I like the direction it's going. And if you don't want to be here, adios, all right? But if you want to be here, we'll welcome you with big arms, and let's go do it. Leanne, let's try to get one. Actually, yeah, I'll get one more.
We have Richard Chapman Jr., class of 88, says, howdy, TexAgs folks.
Howdy!
I think not having Boots alongside Wade is really making his life more difficult and hurting his overall play. These two guys play off each other really well. That's just something Logan just touched on as well. So I think
Good point. What I'll say to that is, like, think about and we'll use basketball guys for an analogy. Michael's better with Scotty. Stockton's better with Malone. Steph is better with Clay. Dirk, I think, was better with Steve, but he had his MVP and his championship without Steve, so Dirk was better with certain people. But my point is, yeah, when there's a 1-2, you're better. You're better with that 2, or you're better with that 1. Either way you want to look at it. All right, speaking of number 1, caller number 1, we're going to give you a free car wash right now from Aggie Land Express Car Wash in South College Station off of William D. Fitch in Greens Perry. They are Aggie owned and operated with the friendliest staff and a personal touch. They offer a monthly membership, but we're going to give the first caller a free car wash right now from Aggie Land Express in South College Station. 979-693-1150. Welcome back into TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. It is now time for the Finish Show, brought to you by Gerard Construction, the half-hour version. And look, Billy told me, do not shorten the show. Louis like, do not shorten it. But it is the off-season, so we shorten it. Custom home builders for the Brazos Valley since 2002. They just don't build homes.
They love us.
They do. Yeah. They don't build relationships. You can learn more at gerard-construction.com. Hi, Kelly.
Hi, how are you?
I'm well, sir. Hunter, hello.
Howdy. Big week.
Big week. Matt, hello.
Good morning.
Good to see you, sir.
Man, it's good to see you as well. Been a lot's happened since last time we were here.
It's been a couple weeks. So, Kelly, we're going to start off with you.
Okay.
Because I think it's been the longest since you've been here.
Probably. I missed a week in there.
What is on your mind?
You know, we're talking about, I'm sure we're going to talk a lot about the head coach. And I like the Elko hire. He was on my short list of guys I would be okay with. But ultimately, to me, we've fired the last 3 coaches for pretty much the same reason, or in variations of the same reason, right? Sherman lost all those close games at the end, brought in Sumlin. Sumlin couldn't close out UCLA in the Rose Bowl, among other problems he had. And now Jimbo couldn't win a road game against a ranked team. And so we bring in another guy. Pardon me if I'm a little apprehensive, not just gung-ho. It may not matter who we hire. If we can't get over the hump on the field, players and generations of players now can't get over the hump on the field, it may not matter who the coach is.
Okay, so let me respond. And I'm sure you got a similar take, or
no?
Okay,
no, I'm quite different.
So if we can't enjoy this right now and like have optimism, then what are we doing here? right? Like, what's the point of being a fan? Like, you're allowed to be excited. Like, they made a change. It's like Mike Leslie from WFAA who's like, A&M, like, you can't have these national championship aspirations. You've never done it.
No, I don't agree with that guy. But,
well,
I mean,
it sounds like it because
don't get me all going on that guy.
Yeah, that guy sucks.
That's the dumbest take I've ever heard. And here's the thing, I love it. I love it. I love the hire. I think it's great. I think he doesn't fit a lot of the molds of the guys you just talked about. Number one,
I can agree with that.
I mean, you have a souped up NASCAR across the street. We just needed a good driver, and we've missed on our last couple drivers. That's the way I look at it. Yep. But you know what? The thing is that as a university and as an athletic department, they're trying. They're trying to find the best driver to get this to win this thing, and so. I love it. He's come in. He said all the right things. I think he was the best guy we could get for player retention. I mean, we have a roster loaded with talent over there, ready to go.
If they stay.
Turnkey, yeah. If they stay, but I mean, we don't have we have one guy in the portal, two guys in the portal so far. I mean, other schools who have their same head coach or have way more guys in the portal thus far. So I mean, the fact of the matter is that I'm thrilled about it. I'm thrilled about it. I'm thrilled about the idea of a captain to come in and actually implement discipline and scheduling and all these different things and be willing to try new innovative things to get the ball in the end zone, which it sounds like, especially after the Petrino interview, that maybe our last captain wasn't willing to do. No. So, and I think that's kind of why he's out hunting right now.
Man, I agree with you. I think in college football, obviously you have to have the talent, but a head coach can change the direction and play of the team, obviously, because we've seen head coaches with lesser talent really have good teams, right?
He had a
lot of talent.
He was not great.
He was a lesser coach, but he had a lot of talent.
For a long time on the show, when we were struggling in the SEC, we had a Mike Evans, and we had during this time an a Myles Garrett. And like a Dalen Mack or Christian Kirk, right? We had individual star players, but we didn't have a huge collection of them because you looked at Bama and you looked at Georgia and you looked at LSU. They have a ton of those guys. Well, we do now. And you're right. You do got to have the right captain. And I think, man, you keep looking until you find it because that's the mix. I'm okay with searching. And we don't want to be Kentucky.
No, we don't.
7-5 and 8-4 is not good enough for Texas A&M.
I was not on that hire. I can tell you that.
The WFAA guy can eat it. It's okay to have higher expectations. We're putting 102,000 people in the stadium every week. We're 4 losses at the time. We had 103,000 people in there one night.
Yeah.
Right? It's different. It's
against
different
a terrible team.
Yeah.
And I do want to clarify, like, Elko is the one. I wanted Dan Campbell or I wanted Elko. Like, those are the guys I wanted. And I'm happy we got Elko. And you're right, we do got a lot of talent. But tempering expectations based on, maybe it's battered Aggie syndrome, possibly. But
sounds like it.
I think it's okay to be waiting.
Tempering my expectations. I like Elko. I liked him when he was here. I thought the coolest thing Elko ever did was every game, that first drive, every game always looked a little rough when Elko was the DC. And by the end of the second quarter, he had what they were doing figured out. He had all of their adjustments figured out, and we were dominating people in the second half on defense. I love that stuff. I hope we keep doing that stuff. But do we have the right driver? Gosh, I hope so. I mean, I'm a Rangers fan. I mean, come on, guys. Like, I'm not used to finding a way to get over the hump. Like, we just did that. I'm all about it, but I'm just going to
It's okay to have wait and see. But there's got to be renewed hope when you – let's think about it for a second. I've said this before on the air. Jimbo was going to be here till 2031 if he played out his contract. My boys who are sophomores, 15 years old, would be out of college by the time that contract ended. So everybody was going into it before he got fired like this. Like, I don't think it's ever going to change, right? You now have renewed hope. There's a new guy, a guy that is not university, but everybody on that defense loves this dude that played under him. And these new guys have a relationship with him. And again, I feel like what you just said, they haven't rushed to the portal. Maybe some guys will, but they haven't rushed to the portal because I think they're intrigued by it. And we as a fan base should be totally intrigued by the new driver with this talent because they are not that far off.
Yeah. And I don't know why A&M catches all the criticism. Well, you haven't won one since 1939. First of all, I'll say that for a long time that wasn't the only goal. There were a ton of conference championships, a ton of bowl games, a winning program in the 70s. We had a decade from 85 to 95. We were really good, 98 probably. But I can go around the country, Power 5 schools, and I can say the same damn thing. You haven't won a national championship in forever because not many schools do. It's a handful of blue buds. Mm-hmm. I mean, I can go through all the SEC schools. I mean, why are we judged different? The Arkansas, the Ole Miss, Mississippi States, South Carolina's, Kentucky's.
My thought is this. I think it's honestly, I think it's kind of a fear thing. People don't want to look, and it's that blue blood mentality where like we're a blue blood, no one else should be here, but they look and they go, wait, A&M, golly, they've got way more money than we do. They have better facilities than we do. They have a better fan base. And I'm talking about the blue bloods and say this. They have better fan support. They fill that stadium with 103,000 people every time. They've got a real home field advantage. They are 90 miles from Houston, Texas, which might be the best recruiting hotbed in the entire country. And they've got everything. We've missed on a lot of things. Sure, there is you want to go back and look at our entire history and you want to break it down, go for it. All right. For a long time, we didn't have girls on campus. The best players that want to go were girls weren't. All right. I mean, those guys back in the 50s and 60s when we were just getting.
We were all male military school.
All male military school. Nobody wanted to come here. Then we didn't want to invest anything in the program, even though we had money. I mean, even in the 80s and 90s, we were buying some of the best players you could get. But, I mean, the thing is that we didn't put anything into our facilities. That we didn't try. We weren't putting our best foot forward for a long time. The move to the SEC has changed that. And we have been rudderless from a coaching standpoint, and these guys that are coming in, there's no blueprint for A&M on how to do this. Someone's got to come up with the blueprint. And so these national pundits that are looking at it going, well, why should A&M do this? Because they can see everything we have, and it scares them to the idea of what kind of power we could be if we actually got the right guy. And that challenges the blue blood mentality of the Ohio States, the Michigans, the Bamas, the LSUs, the Texas, the USC, and Texas shouldn't be a blue blood either. That's BS, but it's just me. Oklahomas of the world, those are the teams that are supposed to be good. A&M's not supposed to be. But Georgia can do it, and Clemson can do it, and no one says anything. But
Clemson's really, if you stop and look at it, Clemson's where we were before they hired Dabo.
And Clemson doesn't have anywhere
I
near
get tired of people
as
thinking
we
that
do.
we're going 4-8 every year. This has been a
And if
good program.
Elko could easily be our Dabo.
Kind of an average program, but we win. And from 75 to 95, we were a major winning school, winning championships, winning team.
Guys, I don't want to spend too much time on this. I'm just seeing these headlines come out. An arrest warrant issued for Von Miller in a domestic violence case, assaulting a pregnant woman. Apparently, I want more details to come out, but it does involve one of our favorite players. So let's get more information before we start speculating. I just have seen several headlines, so that is out there. Just getting it out there for our audience, and I will not comment until I have more information on it. But
reserve judgment till we know more.
Generally, the best idea.
Let's continue down this path here, because Saturday night, the news of Mark Stoops came out. And
Bob would have been better.
Bob might have been better.
We'd be okay with Bob.
And I don't know about that. They would have been better.
I always preface this. I think Mark Stoops is a pretty darn good coach. I just didn't want him to be the coach at Texas A&M. So I'll take it. I'll leave it there, and you guys Take it.
I sat and watched the meltdown, which was really, it was great. I stayed up.
It wasn't great. People were mean.
It was just watching an a fan base completely lose.
I don't know
their
that I've
minds.
ever seen us be so unified about something other than hating Texas. Like, I don't know that I've ever seen the Aggies so unified under one idea. They hate Texas.
It was a 98% ratio. There was no
It was
doubt about
amazing how unified we were as a group.
Yeah, we were. So sit there and watch it go that way, and then it was impressive what it was. I mean,
They rehired Jimbo is what it felt like.
Yeah, it was
in a lot of ways.
It was that, and
it's probably worse than Jimbo.
Worse.
Yeah.
The thing is that like you Stoops. The thing about Stoops is a good coach, and he's done more with less, and I mean he probably would have done an okay job here. I don't know how well. I don't think he'd have done near as good a job in player retention as Elko's done, and some of those things. But again, it's like all this talk. We've had all of this these last couple weeks, all the speculation, all the names thrown into the hat, and we're all thinking this and that. And then next thing you know, it's Mark Stoops of all people, a guy who we know. We know who he is. We know what kind of coach he is. You can see it. How would he do here? How would he do when he has these kind of resources? Who knows? But the thing is that someone like Elko has a much higher ceiling. It seems like so. Yeah, that was pretty funny and wild to watch.
Look, I'm ready to bury the body here and move on from the Stoops deal, but I followed all the SEC teams, right? I don't live in my little A&M bubble. I'm a college football fan. I've been watching that program. He's been there over a decade, right? He's not getting over the hump, right? So at what point you just say he is what he is, right? Less than, 45% winning average in the SEC or something?
Mm-hmm.
Lost 55 SEC games in 10 years. Hadn't beaten anybody. 6-33 against Georgia, Florida, and Tennessee when Florida and Tennessee are now. So I'm like, that guy ain't gonna challenge anybody. He's not gonna challenge Kirby and Saban. I mean, that's my I worry about Elko a little bit because that's the pinnacle. Are you gonna be the guy to challenge Saban and Kirby Smart and whoever the next guy is? 'Cause that's the goal.
Let's hit a break here. I'll read a quick text from Durham Doc. Has anyone noted that our last two slam dunk hires, Fran and Jimbo, did not work out? Absolutely. All right.
They didn't?
No, they did not work out.
Oh.
But this show was working out.
Come on,
just
Durham.
well.
That's harsh.
Although, Kelly, you might need a bodyguard leaving. There's some messages coming in for you, buddy. People are like, come on, man.
This is my give a darn face.
Show it.
Wherever the camera
I think you
is.
care. We all care a little bit. Let's be honest.
We care.
It's the Fan Show presented by Gerard Construction on TexAgs Radio. It is the Fan Show presented by Gerard Construction. Kelly, Matt, and of course Hunter are all here. Gentlemen, any final thoughts about A&M hiring before we move on to the college football playoffs? I guess the big talking point is just get these assistants right, and watch them cook.
I think poor Kelly. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Hey, you asked him first. I, for one, am fired up about it. I'm excited about it. I love the hire. I think it's a good hire. I think that, and it's gotten even better since he's been here, and all the things that he said and the interviews have been fantastic. So I, for one, am thrilled. I'm looking forward to, like you said, we have nothing but hope moving forward. I got hope for next season. We're going to see a different football team, and hopefully the same players, but a different football team out there playing a very different style of football. And I, for one, am fired up about it. Hunter?
Same. I like Elko. I was hurt when he left, but I understood it. That was a head coach gig.
Yeah.
I didn't like the Duke move because I thought it'd be harder for him, and he had pretty quick success there, so I like it.
And in the long run, I think it ends up helping us that he did it.
I listened to Bjork and his philosophy. Hey, we were looking at defensive-minded guys, and we're going to go that route. I mean, I have a different philosophy, but I'm happy with what they did. I love the guy.
Yeah,
I think it's an attractive job. We'll be fine on assistants.
I like you say, you need to nail the assistants. I think that's important. And then also, you talked about ceiling in the previous segment. I think Elko's ceiling is much higher than the other ceilings we looked at. I just a little battered Aggie over here, so I'll just be quiet.
And for the Texas fans that love to get in our mentions, that like you guys are just an 8-4, you've never done it. Those guys. I said Texas would eventually figure it out because when you have the resources and you are in the great state of Texas, I think eventually the right guy comes. And I don't know if Sark's the right guy, by the way. He's having an amazing year, but we'll find out when SEC comes.
Jimbo had one good year too.
Right. So, but eventually Texas will figure it out has been my thought. Eventually Texas A&M will figure it out. The same kind of argument because there's too many resources, too much passion, and too many things right about this place that if you get the right guy, and it doesn't take much, it'll be better.
That's right. And Longhorns, let's remember, you weren't going 8-4 last decade since 2010. You were going 5-7 and 6-6, right? And you had one good year with your "we're back" quarterback. So and you found the guy, and you're about to
go all the way back to John
and
Malkovich.
You're probably about to get left out of the
success.
playoff. Guess what? We were just there 3 years ago, so let's not act like it's ancient history. We were 8-1 against an all-SEC schedule, and we ended up number 5 on the playoff rankings. So against an Ohio State team that only played like 6 games.
Yeah, and this idea that like y'all have done so much. I mean, yes, you did win a national championship in 2005. Your first one in what? Y'all had one in the last 50 years. Since you've been in the Big 12, I think they have 2 Big 12 championships. It's one more than we have. Okay, now they may win and win this, but you're talking about y'all been in the Big 12 a decade longer than we were too, and you only have 2 Big 12 championships while your number one rival has 21? How many Big 12 championships did Oklahoma win?
No, it's
ridiculous. I mean, you're one big rival. All you had to do was beat Oklahoma, and y'all couldn't, and you still couldn't win more Big 12 championships. So don't sit there and act like y'all are some sort of phenomenal blue blood when y'all haven't had that much more success. I can name you 10 other programs that have been way better than y'all. So cut that weird Texas crap out.
And you're squeaking by U of H, K-State, and TCU.
Yeah,
this
barely
year,
beating terrible teams. Wait till you see your stuff.
Hey, TCU's tough. Just ask Dion.
Unfortunately, Texas has, I think, a pretty nice schedule in the SEC next year. They do get Georgia.
Yeah.
When all those guys are probably leaving, and also Georgia goes to Austin. But everything else is for SEC state. I think at Vandy, it's.
Yeah, well, it'll be that stadium will be quiet for the first 3 quarters, anyways.
We have a minute. Kelly, worried about basketball?
No, not at all.
No, I'm enjoying them, and I'm the casual guy. I like this team. They're good.
They need to defend a little better, but
our star needs to start playing like a star. But
yeah, he's pressing a little bit. I mean, without boots too, that's tough. But I mean, the idea that where we were at this same time last year, this is a team that comes together late in the season. They've done it the last 3 years in a row. I mean, and so we're starting better this year than we have any of the last few years. So when we do get it together, we do figure out how to defend the 3 and actually start making threes, this team will be really good.
Can I say one thing about last night? Do we have a few seconds?
You got 4.
Okay. Virginia's really good. I watch ACC basketball all the time. At Virginia, tough. When they scheduled that 6 months ago, 8 months ago, I could tell you that was going to be hard.
horde. Tomorrow on the program, Jay Sternberger will be with us. Who else do we got? We've got the McKinney brothers, Billy, Lucci, Olin, Buchanan, that and more. Thanks for watching. We'll see you mañana.